That's Hulk Hogan in Rocky III. The legendary wrestler died earlier today after paramedics responded to his Florida home for a cardiac arrest call. Friend and business partner Eric Bischoff tells Fox.
He just had a big heart. And until you got to know Terry Bollea, you were overwhelmed with the character Hulk Hogan. And that was his life. But he really was one of the kindest, most generous people that I've ever met.
Hogan campaigned last year for President Trump, who just posted, "We lost a great friend today," calling him the Hulkster and writing that his cultural impact was massive, also sending love to his family. Hulk Hogan was 71. We also found out today that Chuck Mangione died earlier this week. The Grammy-winning musician was 84, a spokesperson telling People magazine he died in his sleep at home. A mixed day on Wall Street, the Dow down 316 at the bell, but new highs again for the S&P and the NASDAQ. America is listening to Fox News.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things. People. Love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions, like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
It is the hardcore feel of summer going through our Thursday afternoon. Partly sunny, hot and humid. 99 today, the heat index 108. Warm and humid tonight, 77. 80 plus for the city. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, partly sunny, hot and humid. Each day, though, could bring some spot afternoon thunderstorms. 95 Friday, 97 Saturday, 98 on Sunday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
And I'm Ryan Recker filling in for Mark Reardon. Happy to be with you on this Thursday. Wow, there's so many different stories going on. I keep thinking about Hulk Hogan. You know, it's so interesting because just 1 year ago, I was filling in for Annie Fry, exactly 1 year ago to this date. And Hulk Hogan was in our building here in Detroit, and I didn't get to meet him because I was filling in. I got my one and only chance ever to meet Hulk Hogan. And the news today was interesting because when I was younger, I was a wrestling fan. I watched it all the time. Thought it was fantastic. And I enjoyed it. Wrestling took this weird turn after a while. After I stopped watching it, they got to the Attitude Era, and everything was just like over sexual, over swearing, over drinking, over this, over that. It was like it was the Attitude. And when I watched it, it was more or less trash talking fun. And then they go on and they do their soap opera theatrics for the crowd and the cameras, and I really enjoyed that. I thought Hulk Hogan was an interesting pop culture icon. And we were discussing this with Ozzy Osbourne and Hulk Hogan dying in the same week. One person asked this question: who had a bigger impact to their circle, their industry, Hulk Hogan or Ozzy Osbourne? Was it Ozzy with music or was it Hulk Hogan the wrestling? That is a very serious thing you could debate. I mean, both of them were so influential in their own way. I know wrestling goes deep with Fred, our producer here.
Yeah.
And Fred, I remember a lot of the different conversations we had when you were a teenager. You had a newsletter that you sold to strangers in the mail.
Well, yeah, subscribers. I call them subscribers, not strangers.
And these subscribers wanted to know, you know, there's different regions and wrestling outfits across the country where these same wrestlers would go and they would wrestle in these different places, but they didn't really have this national network. So whenever they came to St. Louis or regionally, you'd watch it on TV, you'd write it up, and then you would send it out to your subscribers.
That's right.
So you've been watching wrestling for a long time. So you've probably seen Hulk Hogan for decades.
Since the early 80s, I would think so. In St. Louis, it was the National Wrestling Alliance, the NWA. Sam Muchnick was the promoter. And that was, 50s, 60s, 70s. And then, World Wrestling Entertainment, or WWF is what it started out to be. WWF, World Wrestling Federation, came about in the 80s with Vince McMahon, the husband of Linda McMahon. That's where Hulk Hogan came about and took the world by storm.
What do you think some of the most appealing wrestlers are to you? Did you have favorites?
Oh, yeah, I did. Back then, Jack Briscoe, Dory Funk Jr., Andre the Giant was just getting started then. And one of the interesting things about Hulk Hogan is that he was discovered by the Briscoe brothers, Jack and Jerry Briscoe. They saw him performing in a band in Tampa and said, look at this guy's physique. This is amazing. And they talked to him about, maybe you ought to get in with some trainers and see if you can wrestle. And that's how it all became, how the legend of Hulk Hogan began.
Yeah, 71 years old, Hulk Hogan, passing away today at his home in Clearwater, Florida. I think they said technically at the hospital, but it was cardiac arrest. And I think about the memories I have watching wrestling and Hulk Hogan telling you to eat your vitamins, kids, and ripping the shirt open and all of these different things. Ethan, I know we have some audio clips here. How about we play what I think is a pretty good moment after the 1987 Andre the Giant match? This is clip number 7, if we have it.
Hulkamania was put to the ultimate test. But, Mean Gene, when the time came right, when I had Andre the Giant right where I wanted him, the largest arms in the world, with the support of 90,000 plus Hulkamaniacs, helped me slam the Giant right in the center of the ring.
What did he call them? 24-inch pythons or something? What did he call? And then Hulkamaniacs were all the kids that were his fans. And I've never ripped my shirt like that. I wish I, if I wouldn't get in trouble with my wife, she would really be upset if I ripped this shirt in half right now. But in honor of Hulk Hogan, I think when I go home later, I'm going to rip a shirt in half.
You think you could do that? I don't even know if I could do that.
I think once you get past the collar stitching, you're okay. Like, it's clear sailing at that point. Ethan, I would encourage you to do it too. I see you're wearing a Cardinal shirt, but it looks like you got it from Goodwill. So what I would do is just rip it right now if you could.
This is actually a giveaway. So, basically the same level of quality.
Oh, you got it from the stadium? Yeah,
I did.
Did you know who Hulk Hogan was much?
Me?
Yeah, because we were asking the younger people in the newsroom today, and they didn't know who Hulk Hogan really was.
Oh my God, that's so sad. I was never really into the WWE. The most I was ever into it, my best friend was a huge WWE fan, so anything I knew about it was through him. And even then, I still knew who Hulk Hogan was. So, that's crazy that people my age would have no idea who he is.
I think you've also got a clip of him as, I guess it's Thunder Lips in Rocky 3.
Yeah,
which is, where he became, renowned to a lot of America.
Well, do we have that clip, Ethan?
The very bottom?
Rocky 3.
Thunder Lips is here. In the flesh, baby.
Oh my God.
The ultimate male versus the ultimate meatball.
I call Rocky a meatball. Hulk Hogan, he did TV, he did other movies, he did voice work. Him and Ozzy were in a movie together. Did you know that? They were both voiced a cartoon character in a movie that came out not that long ago. I forgot which one it was. I worry about, his legacy and how people are going to remember him.
Hey, Ryan, on Fox News right now, we've got, looks like President Trump was just standing side by side with Fed Chair Jerome Powell taking questions if you want to dip in for a second.
Let's take a couple of minutes of that. Let's take a listen.
$1 in order to lower their tariffs a little bit. That way they have a little bit lower tariff. And they also opened their country to free trade, which nobody thought was even a possibility. And we get a zero tariff in the free trade. We don't pay tariffs. And they're going to pay 15% on everything they send into our country. So it's great. But they put up, as you could call it, seed money. Let's call it seed money. You could call it
Who's
anything
they?
you want, but it's it's a total of $550 billion. So nobody thought any of that was possible, and it's wonderful. And we're doing pretty well with the European Union, likewise, and we have some others. They're all really big, and our country's going to make a lot of money. We would be helped if interest rates would come down, but we're going to see how the board rules on that soon. I'd love to see them come down a lot, but we have a country that's thriving. We had a dead country 1 year ago. Today we have the hottest country anywhere in the world, and we'll get this one finished. Thank you.
Yeah, they're walking away right now.
Okay.
Looks like they're at the construction site of where they're doing all the work on the Federal Reserve right now, is what it looks like.
So he announced some sort of deal. We just got the tail end of it. We're going to have to catch the headline because that seems like a pretty big deal. Him and Jerome Powell. It's so funny because you have Hulk Hogan call Sylvester Stallone a meatball, which first thing I thought was Donald Trump calling Jerome Powell a knucklehead. And then there they were live. It looks like some big breaking news. If you see the bottom third there, what tariff country they were talking about trades with. I
thought were they saying Japan? It sounded like they were saying Japan at first, but I didn't hear him say that they were announcing anything or not. Right now, it just says that Trump meets with Powell at the Federal Reserve. So we don't know anything. It may have just been an update as to where they are in negotiations as well.
Right. I thought that may have came out yesterday, so maybe he's just referring to the news from that point. Well, good old wrestling. There's so many. TMZ must be working overtime right now because all the different celebrity deaths. You see Chuck Mangione passed away. You probably heard that. The only reason I know him is because King of the Hill mentions him, and he is like the spokesperson for Megalomart on the fictitious chain store down in Texas. And then, of course, Ozzy Osbourne passing. TMZ had that one. Probably the craziest of all the different stories that are out there right now. TMZ talking about. Do you see LeBron James just filed a lawsuit against these AI creators because he's tired of people making pregnancy videos of him?
Stop it.
So LeBron James is suing these AI generated video companies because he's tired of people putting him in positions like pregnancy. They said there's other disturbing videos that are negative implications. For example, versions of Diddy parties, we'll put it that way. One showing James as a homeless person on his knees with his tongue sticking out. One as a pregnant man. So he's like, I'm tired of these AI videos of people making fun of me. So he's suing them all. LeBron James pregnancy videos.
On one hand, part of me says, you have all the money in the world, dude. Everyone, like, you would think most people know that those are fake. And on the other side, you're like, well, you know, you can't blame him. And hopefully, maybe, you know, if these go his way, then some of this, you know, there will be some sort of limits or regulations to some of this because it can get out of hand really easily.
I mean, just think of all the entertainment news that came out this week. That's what's driving most of the headlines. Ozzy Osbourne dying, Hulk Hogan passing away, Chuck Mangione, one of the Cosby kids that started it all, in Malcolm Jerome Warner passing away, and now, right, and then you have LeBron James suing AI creators because they're making videos of him as a pregnant man. What a week. All right, when we come back after the break, we're going to talk to J. Peder Zane. He's the editor of Real Clear Investigation, columnist for Real Clear Politics. He has a piece on Russiagate versus Epstein files and some of the hypocrisies there. We'll talk to him coming up. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon on 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, we've got delays if you're making your way on the eastbound side of 70. You're jammed into downtown. Westbound side, heavy 170 through the airport area. 2 spots from Page down to Gravois. Northbound side, a little bit of slow spot past 64. 170 southbound, heavy Ladue, right down to 64. And then 64, we've got a westbound delay that goes from Kings Highway to about Clayton, where we've got a crash working. And another one on the eastbound side, where you're jamming things up on 64 between 170 to past Big Bend before you sort of make the turn there. into the downtown area. Southbound 55, we've got delays that start right around Arsenal on down through to the river. Northbound side of 55 is not too bad. That's the work zone, so it's not too terrible. It's mostly southbound leaving the city. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Brought to you by SerbFest 2025. Get ready for an incredible celebration of Serbian culture, food, and traditions. SerbFest is back for 2025 from August 1st through the 3rd. Mark your calendars and join us for an unforgettable time at SerbFest 2025. For more information, go to serbfeststl.com.
I could not be happier with the experience that I had with Mike Reynolds and his team at Michael's Flooring Outlet last year. We've known each other for a while now, but we finally put them to work on some projects. Ended up being 3 projects in total. Was supposed to be 2. We were so happy with what happened upstairs. We put some hard flooring in downstairs. When it comes to your options, you have great product. Smart Strand Mohawk Silk. That's known for silky softness and superior performance. It has 3 times more individual fibers than ordinary nylon carpet. We're going in the other direction with hard flooring. They have Redwood Select, and plus that has a 10-year waterproof warranty, a lifetime all-pet warranty. They have Tech Wood. They have Ultra Wood, which you can install yourself. Smart Strand is extraordinarily clean. It's really durable. It's environmentally friendly, and they can guide you in with the experts, the pros at Michael's Flooring Outlet, with 3 great locations in the area, open 6 days a week, just closed on Sundays. In St. Charles County at 116 Main Street, in Old Town St. Peters, in West County on Olive, and then there's a location in Darien Prairie. IGotFloor.com for Michael's Flooring Outlet. Tell them that we sent you in.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Patton, D.C. Doctor, what is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage to the feet and legs.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms are numbness, burning, tingling, pain, and loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we have amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands, or balance issues, call us at Comprehensive Integrated Health today for a nerve damage screening. The screening will tell if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, and even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Call 636-538-5188. That's 636-538-5188 for your free nerve damage screening. 636-538-5188.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even
the evidence, correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment.
And that is Tulsi Gabbard. You heard yesterday, we played some clips of that too. It's a pretty big story, revelation there. I'm Ryan Renker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Joining us now is someone that has an interesting commentary piece up on Real Clear Politics, Peder Zane. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Ryan. Nice to talk to you.
So Epstein versus Russiagate. I wanted to kind of go to the start of this. Tale of two stories. First concerns President Trump's backpedaling on pledges to release government files connected to the long-dead pervert Jeffrey Epstein. Second involves the growing evidence that President Obama and his top officials spread the false narrative casting Trump as a treasonous agent of Russia, one that hobbled his first term. I've noticed in the way that major news organizations, the TV networks, at least the TV, NBCs, ABCs, the way that they decide to cover this is we need to lead with what is most damaging in our eyes to Donald Trump, what makes him look bad. Not necessarily what the bigger story is. They lead with what can we do to try to degrade Donald Trump. I'm guessing you're probably seeing that same type of trend in news coverage.
100%. And so one of the things I also work for Real Clear Investigations, and we do aggregate links to deep dive journalism every day. And so I go to 50 to 80 websites a day and looking for things that we might post. And I would say for the past 2 weeks almost, every legacy media, just about every legacy media's homepage has had the top half of it has just been Epstein. I mean, they literally have been covering it like the invasion of Normandy. I did a little search of the New York Times for July 16th to July 23rd. They had at least 50 stories just on this.
Wow.
And so the way to, and it's of course part of a larger pattern, because if you remember, they thought that Medicaid reform was going to hurt Trump. So they wrote endlessly about that. They wrote endlessly about the big, beautiful bill was going to expand the debt and the deficit, even though they've never shown any concern about that. And of course, the irony there too is that the Medicaid reforms were trying to, in some ways, bring down the deficit and debt, but they attacked him on both fronts simply because they thought it might be effective. And
you know
that's
what I find?
Epstein is now.
This is what I find, at least with news coverage, is if you go back to the Biden administration, you have the major networks that basically would say, if the Biden administration told us or a spokesperson told us, then we know it is true, so we're going to report on it as fact. But when it comes to something like the Donald Trump administration, what they'll do is they'll say, what can we take right now to force him to be the center of this attention in a negative way? And that's what we're rolling with. It doesn't matter what anyone in his administration is saying. And it can be a very dangerous thing to do, because what we found is so many times Donald Trump is vindicated. They find out the stories that he's bringing out are truthful. This happens over and over again, but they never correct the story. They've already moved on to the next thing they think could damage him.
You nailed it. And I think that and this is what I say at the end of the column, I think that we've had so much dishonesty from both the Democrats and the legacy media that for which they have not been held accountable, that they just don't have any sense that they should do anything other than go after this man. And when their lies are exposed, nothing will happen. And I mean, you basically, the impunity for Russiagate, and that's what it was, the worst political scandal in American history that corrupted the White House, the CIA, the FBI, the media, and on it goes. Nothing happened. And I think that's what then emboldened them to lie about the Hunter Biden laptop, to lie about Joe Biden's capacities. They just, whatever they need to say, they're completely unprincipled, I think is the main point. They have no principle, they just want power. And so they have no limiting principle to stop them from doing something. And yet the further irony is they constantly cast themselves as the moral agents of this country. And they're always in high dudgeon about cruelty, meanness, retribution, whatever you want to call it, when they in fact have absolutely zero morality or principle. And that principle would be judging everybody by the same standard.
Peder Zane is joining us, editor at Real Clear Investigations, columnist for Real Clear Politics, and the opinion piece is out, Epstein versus Russiagate. Here's what I think some critics would say, and I'd be curious what you think about this. at this point, you're basically bringing up a straw man. What you're saying is, okay, we're going to talk about Russiagate right now because we want to redirect from the Epstein things, which is actually the bigger story. I think the bigger debate, to me at least, is what is the bigger story? What has the bigger implications? And why is one being hidden and other one is being forced upon? I mean, I do believe the Epstein story is a big story, and a lot of people do care about it. But then you have to weigh it with everything else that's going on and what new information is out with it, as opposed to speculation. And then you have to be able to use that as a way to report, but people don't look at it that way. So, so what do you think about this? Like the whole idea of this Russiagate and the timing of it is only to distract.
It may be distracting, but it's distracting from a completely unfair story. And I guess I understand the Trump's base and their feeling that wealthy, influential people have been protected. Okay, and that in fact there's also a sexual element to it, which Jeffrey Epstein's case also brings up. But what's the end game here? And part of the problem now, and you saw this with the judge in Florida, is is it really fair to release information where people just knew him? Or, I mean, in other words, everybody's the brush that they're tainting Trump with. There's no evidence that Trump was with underage women with Jeffrey Epstein, and yet that is the implication. And it's totally unfair, but he's the president and he can defend himself. But I mean, do we want to release files simply to, find out who flew on this guy's plane?
Yeah.
What does that
Well,
serve?
I will say
I'm not saying not do it, but
I would say this: if the roles were reversed, like let's say hypothetically, Joe Biden's in office and the Epstein thing comes out and the Wall Street Journal says we have reason to believe Joe Biden's name's on the Epstein list. But at the same time, the Biden administration came out and said, we also have proof that Donald Trump was someone that was colluding with, so let's say the roles were reversed. I believe the media would flip it in a heartbeat. I think they would be hiding this Epstein stuff and they would be leading with everything else, which to me shows there is a clear bias in the way they're reporting this because they just don't like the guy around it, as opposed to looking at it both as individual news stories.
Well, let's also just look at the Russiagate side. I mean, what has come out? It's sort of the same thing where we know the pattern. We know that Obama and his henchmen and Hillary Clinton concocted this phony story. We know that already. But the level of detail that has been brought out in the last few days about how shabby the sources were for the claims that they made is truly significant. And we've been covering this at Real Clear Investigations and Real Clear Politics for many years. And this is actually, important, groundbreaking stuff. And the same media that first of all, let's not forget, ignored Epstein for years. They didn't care when Biden was in office. All of these files were just sitting there. Where was the demand, if it was of any significance, that he released these things? But they now are doing everything they can to dismiss this stuff. Oh, it's old news, or, oh, they're going after Obama. Well, they should go after Obama because it's clear from the evidence that he knew that this was nonsense and he advanced it. And he was the president of the United States, and he ought to be held accountable. They're not going to arrest him. None of that's going to happen. But he needs that halo taken off his head because what he did was so wrong, and their efforts to protect him. I mean, again, that's really all I was trying to say in the column is you have explosive information that goes to the heart of American democracy. Ironically, the whole point that they made about January 6th, it had to do with the peaceful transfer of power, and they did not let that happen by concocting this nonsense. And that story is being ignored. And, the salacious and certainly, titillating Jeffrey Epstein story that probably does involve rich, powerful people and sex is getting wall-to-wall coverage. And it's only telling us something that we already know, and that is how biased and disgraceful the legacy media is. But it's something that we have to keep doing. And honestly, it can get a little old sometimes because we keep saying the same thing. But if you don't, then they're just going to do it with even more impunity.
Yep. Well, people wanted to read your commentary. Where can they go?
Go to realclearpolitics.com.
Very easy. The commentary, Epstein versus Russiagate. And Peder Zane, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate the time today. Very good conversation. Coming up after the break is a visiting fellow for higher education at the Heritage Foundation. We're going to talk about what we're seeing when it comes to settling some of these college campus protests and the developments around not only Columbia University, but Harvard as well. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in on 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, we've got delays if you're headed 70 eastbound, slow into downtown. Westbound side, slow spots that go from Union to Lindbergh. 270 southbound spots that go from Page to Gravois. Eastbound side.
I think we lost Trevor there, or Trent, excuse me, there for a moment. We'll see if we can get him back and get an updated traffic for you right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Jerry Kelly swings next day installs no matter how late you call. And because they work later every day, they're faster when your equipment just needs fixing too.
That's MVP material.
Yep, simple fix or a full install. Nobody gets you comfortable faster.
JerryKelly.com. Raise your hand if your power went out here in the last couple of months in St. Louis. If you're driving, do not do that. But if your power did go out, do you have a generator? How about a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator? They're the best in the industry from Generator Supercenter right here in St. Louis. They're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. I've mentioned that I know this brand from way back when I lived in Milwaukee because they're located up there. Generator Supercenter is top notch. All the installations are permitted and code compliant. I like to mention that because they use copper wire. A lot of the competitors, you have HVAC guys and others that do generators. This is all they do, right? They sell, they install, they maintain, they monitor Generac automatic standby generators, certified service maintenance, warranty work. A lot of competitors won't offer that. So if you need a Generac home standby generator, Generator Supercenter can help you out. Give yourself peace of mind. There's financing available. A free estimate is just a phone call away, or you can stop by the store in Chesterfield if you'd like to. Generator Supercenter of St. Louis, 314-499-2020. The website, GeneratorSupercenterofStLouis.com.
It's hot. So is it better to set my thermostat at 70, 65, 75, 80? Here's my advice to you. Set the thermostat exactly where you're more comfortable. The difference I would spend from 75 to 80, are you ready for your savings? Now remember, this is for 3 months. In my opinion, you could save $10 to $15 a month. Or I can say, I'm still uncomfortable, so lower it, 70 degrees. So now you're spending $10 to $20 more a month for 3 months. So let's just say to 20. Let's just get crazy and think that it's going to cost you $20 more a month for your comfort. That's $60 in 3 months. Do you have an extra $60? With that being said, if your system is not cooling, then call me, Bart Inman, one easy number, Missouri and Illinois, 314-293-2600. God bless.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The time is 3:33. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Cutting through the spin. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
Welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Joining us now, a visiting fellow for higher education at Heritage Foundation, author of Slacking, A Guide to Ivy League Miseducation. I enjoyed our conversation with him not that long ago. Joining us again is Adam Kissel. Thank you for coming back.
Glad to be back. Thanks.
We've seen some recent developments on college campuses. Columbia University, it was announced today that they're going to pay over $220 million to the government, part of a settlement to go back and look at some of the mistakes that they made during campus protests. There's been a lot of other universities in the same situation. We're talking about these pro-Palestinian protests that were there and flat out harassing Jewish members of the community over a long period of time. The university was slow to react or step in or even protect them from physical harm in some cases. It was really, really bad. So Trump administration did not like that. They said this is activity that should not be tolerated on campuses. We need to make sure you understand that $220 million government settlement to resolve some of the problems with that. And they're not the only college campus that has resolved it through finances. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. So what do you think could happen in the future? Do you think this sends a pretty strong signal to universities to not tolerate that stuff?
Other than for sexual violence settlements, this is the largest settlement that a university has had to pay for bad behavior. The next top three are all about False Claims Act on grants. This one is about civil rights. This is about basic humane treatment of your own students and faculty members. So if you're another university that is discriminating on the basis of race or committing anti-Semitic acts or letting students on campus take over a library and do that, your number is going to come up too. So if you are admitting students on the basis of race, if you are hiring faculty on the basis of race, if you're turning a blind eye to discrimination on campus, you're in trouble. And so now that you look at Columbia and you see that you can come back into compliance, it's going to cost you some money, you're going to say, you know what? We either need to audit ourselves and get clean fast, or we're going to have to settle with the government. But one way or the other, we're going to have to stop discriminating. So it's a positive sign.
It is. And I think these university presidents realize that the tides are somewhat turning on them. There was that instance with Santaono. He's the president of University of Michigan. He announced that he was going to go take a job down in Florida. And they go through the formal process of approval. And the Board of Regents down there said, we don't want this type of stuff down in Florida. The stuff that and they really point back to what was going on the college campus during this protest. They said, what we saw and the way that you were treating your Jewish community and allowing these things to fester was just beyond what we want for the person that is leading our university. So it's the first time that's ever happened for that university down in Florida. They said they denied a job to an incoming president. So do you think maybe, at least on the college level, okay, if you're running a university, for some of these people like Columbia, $220 million is a lot of money, but they'll be just fine. But when you start talking about people's personal lives and finances, like the president that won't get a job now because of the record that is under his belt, maybe that is another consequence that these presidents will have a better incentive to step in.
That's right. But we should also know that about Columbia, for instance, it's not just about the money, but it's about the culture on campus and changing the policies and practices so that it's a more merit-based institution. So it's a big win at Columbia, not just because of the money, which, as you say, is just half of 1 year's worth of federal research grants for Columbia. But now Columbia has agreed to adhere to principles of merit in hiring and in admissions, non-discrimination, equal justice, meaning if you're an international student, you don't get special treatment, and transparency with funds that are provided to Columbia from other countries. So when we can win like that across the board, that's the kind of model that also comports with academic freedom that the government and a bunch of other universities can come to. And I'll tell you, they're going to have to come to it if they don't reform on their own.
So what do you think about some of these different universities getting investigated? And joining us here is Adam Kissel, visiting fellow for Higher Education Heritage Foundation, author of Slacking, A Guide to Ivy League Miseducation, which is very good. We'll have to talk about that. But some of these different universities getting notification from the federal government that you've discriminated against U.S. citizens and things like scholarships, meaning you made it so that it was impossible for them to apply for certain aid, but you would only open the aid for people that were non-citizens, these students coming in. So they're looking at that as discrimination for U.S. citizens. I think some of these college campuses are getting the reality check here that this type of discrimination is not tolerated.
You know, it's a pervasive problem to have racial discrimination in scholarships and fellowships, but also national origin discrimination. And even worse, when that discrimination is going against Americans themselves. And worst of all, when it's going to illegal alien students
yeah,
over Americans.
Right. And
Right,
that
so-
is something that seems common sense. I thought we all agree discrimination's bad, but it was happening widespread on college campuses for the longest time.
Yes, well, it's great that the Supreme Court said 2 years ago that ending discrimination means ending all of it. And that's, I think, what opened the door for the government under Trump to not turn a blind eye the way that the Biden administration did, and to say, you know what, we're going to make that real finally. And we're going to take these universities to task for all the different kinds of discrimination that they've been committing: scholarships, fellowships, admission, hiring, single-sex programs. Well, I like single-sex programs that help people, but they need to be open to everyone. So if you want to teach STEM to girls, that's great, but you've got to teach STEM to boys too.
Yeah.
Right? That's the whole point of not discriminating.
Well, you're the author of Slacking, A Guide to Ivy League Miseducation. Do you think that some of these universities one day in the future will have a course along the lines of embrace your discrimination? It's okay.
Right. So what we show in the book is that across the Ivy League, there's this narrative of you must be mentally ill and have oppressions, and we're going to help you through that, or we're going to indulge your biases and your passions rather than teach you the best that has been thought and said in the world, to become a better human being and citizen, to be empowered instead of think of yourself as a victim. The problem with those curricular lapses is all over the Ivy League, in the humanities and in the social sciences. So if you're interested in having a great education, you should probably go to a nice state school that has a great honors college and core curriculum, and you're going to end up being a better person and probably get a better job because you're better educated.
Right. Well, I'm hoping that a lot of these different employers are taking notes, the different courses that these kids are taking, in a sense that I want to know, if I was hiring someone, and sometimes you got to be careful because you don't want to break any equal opportunity laws, or you don't want to look at employment law, but I would be concerned that, because a lot of these big companies are worried about the culture inside of their building, I would be concerned that I was going to hire in someone that would inherently want to discriminate based on race, or inherently look at it because my college told me that it was acceptable. I don't want that.
Right. Right. So if I'm hiring somebody who's, say, graduated in the last 5 years from an Ivy League institution, I'm not going to be starstruck by the name on the diploma, and I'm not going to be starstruck by the 4.0 average, because everybody with grade inflation has A's and A minuses. I'm going to go into the transcript and say, did you take the serious courses, or did you take the slacker courses? If you went to Cornell, did you take the science course that has you watch Disney movies to learn about animals, and that counts? Or did you take engineering? Did you take statistics?
Oh no, Disney movies. What? Is that right?
Yep. So that's how you learn about animals. And then you pretend you're one of the animals and you're an animal society and you have to solve your differences. So if you're the lion and somebody else is the mouse, like, that's a real science course. It meets your science requirement at Cornell. Or at Princeton, you can take a whole course to meet your social sciences requirement on shoes.
I mean, that might be a fun afternoon in 8th grade, but not a full semester in a college course.
Right. And so, like Yale says in their arts and humanities requirement, we're going to teach you how to understand and appreciate the highest achievements of humanity. But then the course that you can take to meet that is called, one of them, Introduction to the Occult Sciences. And you learn recipes for summoning demons and angels.
Oh, no.
Right. Or you take this course on Beyonce, or you take this course on East Asian martial arts films. Again, like, maybe fun for electives, but that's not how you're going to become a better human being. I'm telling you.
No, I would argue it probably pushes you further away from it. By the way, if people want to look you up online and your book or some of the work that you're doing, where can they go?
For academic and policy work, heritage.org. And for thoughts in the world, there's always X, Kissel_Adam.
That's great. One last thing, we saw the State Department looking into Harvard again. There's already questions about them and what they're going to do when it comes to their campus protests. Now that Columbia has made that settlement with the government, but still they're reviewing the visas, the J-1 visa program, and universities like Harvard that were endorsing foreign students to participate in these exchange programs, noting that all sponsors of the program must comply with regulations. And that's what Secretary of State Marco Rubio was bringing up in a statement. Now there's questions if they were actually on the up and up in these. So what do you think about these type of endorsements at Harvard?
Well, if the United States is letting somebody into our country to study, we want them to actually like America enough to not try to undermine us. And I don't think Harvard and a bunch of other institutions, including Columbia, have done a good job at all about vetting students from other countries who come, say, from China or the Middle East. And their idea is to become professional graduate students and become activists. And they're often the anti-Semites. So Department of State is totally right to say, we're going to take a good look at Harvard and see if we can still support their policies as they bring in graduate students. So it's right. Now, Harvard has already won a round over a different version of this in court, but this is independent of that presidential memorandum. This is Department of State independently saying, if you're not serving American interests, maybe you don't deserve to get international students.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of universities. I'll bring back University of Michigan again, because they had the same thing with Chinese exchange students bringing in these very dangerous substances to study in here. And they were caught at the airport. We're talking about, there's 2 instances where different, these dangerous substances were being brought in. So we got to look at it and say, okay, well, what's the reason for this? And should we be endorsing this sort of thing? What did the school know about it? Were they trying to circumvent, let's say, the safety of all these other passengers, or maybe the threat of perhaps destroying all our crops to bring in these dangerous pieces into the country? Okay, I think people should go and look at your book. I know the last time we spent talking about Slacking, a Guide to Ivy League Miseducation, I had a great time learning about some of these courses that kids were taking. I think it's well worth the time of any listener to go check up in Adam Kissel online. Kissel_Adam. Is that where you said you're on next?
Yep. And if you're interested in the book, Encounter Books is where you can find Slacking. And if you notice some other books you like, you probably will. It's a great publisher.
Adam Kissel, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
And I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon on 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, things are pretty heavy if you're on 70 eastbound from Lindbergh over to the airport with a crash in the right lane. Westbound side, slow spots from Union to Lindbergh, and then heavy First Capitol just past that point to Cave Springs with a crash in the right lane. 270 southbound, slow spots from Page to Gravois. Northbound side from Page to 70 slow. Eastbound side jam past 367 over the old Chain of Rocks Bridge. There's a crash there as well in a lane. 170 southbound heavy from Olive to 64. 64 westbound from Kings Highway to Clayton. Earlier crash that's cleared. Eastbound side had a crash around Big Bend, but that's been cleared. It's still heavy from 170 over east. And then 55 southbound from Broadway to Bates. This report is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, and Electrical. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Jerry Kelly swings next day installs no matter how late you call. And because they work later every day, they're faster when your equipment just needs fixing too.
That's MVP material.
Yep, simple fix or a full install. Nobody gets you comfortable faster.
JerryKelly.com.
Mark Cox doesn't fake it. He's lived it here in St. Louis. Pro-freedom, pro-family, pro-truth. If it matters to Missouri, it matters to Mark. Mark Cox, mornings on 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis conservative.
Are you nearing retirement and don't know if you have enough money saved to retire? That is scary. Do you have a written retirement financial plan in place? Well, when it comes to retirement planning, the trusted team at Financial and Tax Architects are the best. They've helped people all over St. Louis retire with confidence. And that's what you want. You want to retire with confidence. Now, they offer a one-night, 2.5-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. They hold these at colleges over the St. Louis area and in Illinois. No cost, no obligation, just learning. And at this class, you learn how to avoid costly mistakes, how to maximize your income, how to reduce taxes in retirement. So call them today, 314-888-5101, or visit fta-ria.com and take the first step toward a smarter retirement. 314-888-5101.
It's motorcycle season in St. Louis. Time to ride. When the road gets rough and you're injured in an accident, you need someone who's got your back. You need Kaufman Townsley. We're local, we know St. Louis, and we don't settle unless it's what's best for you. When it's not, we go to trial, and we bring decades of experience with us. Kaufman Townsley. Real people, real results. Call 314-500-5000. That's 314-500-5000.
This is St. Louis Conservative. No filters, no fluff. Mark Reardon is back on the mic.
I do want to thank Adam Kissel, who joined us in the last segment with Heritage Foundation. And he's right. I mean, I think it would be good for these universities to realize that the anti-Semitism, the harassment, the discrimination based on race, national origin, these things that were not only tolerated but celebrated as this is what true diversity looks like on college campus, is a dangerous precedent that has been going on way too long. And I think, like Columbia University being one of them, realizing maybe some of their mistakes, recognizing it in a settlement, and some of these other large universities too, who get government funding, one day has to realize that if you're acting in this way and discriminating, that maybe it's best that the United States withholds some of that funding until you stop discriminating against race, religion, national origin, you name it. So I want to go back to the announcement that came out earlier with Linda McMahon. And this is clip number 21. I think she pretty much sums it up right here.
Wouldn't have happened if Donald Trump were not president, and I'm really pleased to execute his vision for this, that our campuses are now, they're what they should be. They're places for debate, they're places for education, they're not places for left-leaning riots and anti-Semitism.
Okay. You know, I'm going to pop over in the comments real quick on our video feed. Okay. So I'm going to ask a question to anyone that's watching right now, and I'm going to let you answer here. Would you rather hear a clip of Joy Behar from The View talk about how Donald Trump's jealous of Obama, or do you want to hear clips of Hulk Hogan being Hulk Hogan? All right. Go ahead and type in an answer right now, and then I will let you decide how we end this hour, because I have a feeling I know which way you are going. So I'm going to start going in that direction right now. I was a little Hulkamaniac growing up. I loved the Bushwhackers. I thought it was funny the way those guys would go around licking people. Such a weird thing. And they did that thing with their arms. I think they're from like Australia or New Zealand, which is, you know, to me, completely different cultures. But then the older you get, you realize you have much more in common in these other countries than people make it out to be. But I liked Hulk Hogan. I liked Macho Man Randy Savage. I liked Ted DiBiase. I like the bad guys, Mr. Perfect, things like that. But Hulk Hogan was one of those staples that was always consistently awesome. Like anytime you went in there, you knew you're going to get a good show from Hulk Hogan. And even when he left the World Wrestling Federation, did WCW, he kind of like created this gang, the New World Order. And part of it was bringing some of these old guys, so you get to watch them all play together again on television, and there was this big rivalry. It was fun when there was competition. I really enjoyed it. But he kind of transcended. He was a pop culture icon, this Hulk Hogan was. And what I like to see is when sometimes the people that you liked when you were younger are not completely the strongest leftists out there. Like sometimes you see these musicians or these actors, they're like, oh, I really like their work. I just, anything they say outside of that is, I'm so lit down. I'm so bummed out by it. I can't support any of that stuff. And then 2024 comes around and Hulk Hogan's behind the podium at the Republican National Convention, ripping his shirt off. And I said, one person from my childhood that I never expected this to happen. There he is up there doing his thing. And this is part of the clip from that. This is clip number 8 of the Hulkster at the RNC.
But what happened last week when they took a shot at my hero? And they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
Let him go. And then the president posting a photo of Hulk Hogan, them behind the scenes. You know, you have Hulkamania flexing, and he did have some pretty big arms, I'll tell you. I saw some of the photos of my colleagues that all got photos with him a year ago to this date, and I missed out on it because I was in this exact same hot studio sweating it out when Hulk Hogan was doing his cool thing. And of course, he was late. Everyone was sitting here waiting for him forever to show up, and he wasn't showing up. And I thought there was a slight chance I get to meet him if he showed up on time, but we know how that goes. Celebrities don't always do that. All right, I see in the chat, let me tell you something, brother. One person said, I got to meet the Bushwhackers. They were really cool, down-to-earth dudes. One person said Hulk Hogan. Okay, so ultimately, no one wants to hear clips from The View and Joy Behar. Let's listen to some wrestling montage clips of Hulk Hogan, who, by the way, passed away today at the age of 71.
He's hulking up, Jess.
Hulking up.
He's got enough left in him. That adrenaline can do wonders. We're seeing what this guy is really made of. What he is. The greatest professional athlete in the world today. Look at this.
The greatest professional athlete in the world at one point. Could you say that? How accurate do you think that was, Ethan? Could you make an argument? Let's say you against 20 other people. Each of them have their own greatest professional athlete. One person comes up, oh, it's Michael Jordan. No, it's Wayne Gretzky. No, it's Babe Ruth. No, it's Lionel Messi. Could you make an argument and defend Hulk Hogan in that argument, in that arena?
That he's the greatest athlete
of all time.
Well,
of hit one point in time.
Probably I wouldn't be able to, right? He was a very good athlete, and he was in very athletic form, but not everything, but so much of it is either scripted or is like you're told what is going to happen or what the final result is going to be, to where it's not like your success is solely based off of what you accomplished.
Sure, but you do at the same time as an individual, you have to be able to perform in a certain way at that level.
Absolutely.
Which is a very difficult thing. Because
absolutely. But then it's performing, right? It's not sport.
Okay. Rocky was a better athlete than Thunderlips is what one person said. One person said never, ever, ever, ever. Joy, ever, which I'll take that point. But rest in peace, Hulk Hogan, passing away today at the age of 71. I'm Ryan Ranker, filling in for Mark Reardon. Don't go anywhere. 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Things are heavy if you're on 70. If you're headed eastbound from 270 to the airport, crash in the right lane just past Lindbergh. Westbound side, slow spots from Lindbergh or Union out to Lindbergh, and then First Capital to Cave Springs, where we've got another crash, and it's in the right lane as well. 270 southbound, slow spots from Page to Gravois. Northbound side hits the brakes pretty heavy, Page to before 70 with the crash. Eastbound side jammed from 367 over the old Chain of Rocks Bridge because of a crash. 170 southbound jams up from Olive down to 64 westbound, Kings Highway to Big Bend. Slow going eastbound from 170 to above Big Bend as well, and 55 southbound heavy now through the work zone from Broadway to Bates. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Guys, it's time to take charge of your health with my friends at Victory Men's Health. Mark Cox here. I already love what they do at Victory. They do hormone optimization, sexual health, weight loss, even vitamin deficiencies. Now they're offering specialty cardiovascular testing and even early detection cancer screening. Visit them at one of their 4 great locations, now in Sunset Hills, Town and Country, O'Fallon, Missouri, and O'Fallon, Illinois. Tell them Mark Cox sent you. Go to victorymenshealth.com. Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, August 5th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Here are Bob and Tammy with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired? Do you have your personalized income plan in place? Would you like to learn why linking to the market is much safer than owning the market, and how in 39 years we have never lost a penny of our clients' money?
Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your market gains every year without having to sell? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, at the Frontenac Hilton, Tuesday, August 5th at 6:30. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Side by side at the Fed. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. President Trump taking a tour of renovations at the Federal Reserve alongside the Fed chair as probes of cost overruns continue. The president saying he wanted to see construction for himself to help understand what he says is a more than $3 billion renovation at Fed headquarters.
Fed Chairman Jerome Powell disputed those figures.
You just added in a third building is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no, but it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago.
President Trump has been highly critical of Powell, nicknaming the Fed chair too late for refusing to lower a key interest rate. Still, the president says he does not intend to replace Powell before his term expires next year.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. The Trump administration is asking the U.S. Supreme Court to let the government proceed with sweeping cuts to National Institutes of Health grants as part of a crackdown on diversity initiatives. The Justice Department asking the High Court to lift a federal judge's ruling in June that halted that plan as a violation of federal law requiring the government to reinstate access to the grant funds. This stems from a legal challenge by researchers and 16 Democrat-led states. Larger than life, a common theme in the tributes flowing today for Hulk Hogan. The wrestling icon died earlier today in Florida. He was 71 and had a career that branched out to TV and movies.
Thunder Lips is here in the flesh, baby.
Oh my God. Including Rocky III.
He affected so many people in my generation, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and growing up.
Nick Nemeth wrestled as Dolph Ziggler.
He was bigger than wrestling. He crossed over pop culture, went into one of the biggest movies of all time, and stood out because of professional wrestling as the big, out there, gigantic, turned up to 11 star.
The president writing today that we've lost a great friend. America's listening to Fox News.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions, like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
It is the hardcore feel of summer going through our Thursday afternoon. Partly sunny, hot and humid. 99 today, the heat index 108. Warm and humid tonight, 77. 80 plus for the city. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, partly sunny, hot and humid. Each day, though, could bring some spot afternoon thunderstorms. 95 Friday, 97 Saturday, 98 on Sunday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Well, divorce is a really hard topic. There's no doubt about it. I went through it a couple of decades ago, and I always tell people you're going to get through it. It's going to seem like a different lifetime, but you have to have good representation. And I'll just share my story. I went to another attorney that I was friends with in Milwaukee at the time. I said, I need a divorce attorney. And I probably even said, I need one cheap. That was a mistake. Well, she introduced me to a guy. He was a fine guy. His name was Carlton. He was new. He was a newbie. And I don't think that was, in fact, I know that was not a good thing. It's exactly the opposite that you'll get with Susan L. Ward. A ton of experience, not only with Susan, but with the folks in her office here, 2+ decades of doing everything surrounding this very specialized area of the law. They have a great office or two, a couple of offices here, stlfamilylaw.com. If you need to get a hold of them, there's a confidential consultation form, or you can call 314-783-9400. The focus on family law, the emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT be everything.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
It's summertime, and that heat can play havoc on your plants and trees in your yard. Mark Cox here from my friends at Hanson's Tree Service. Give them a call. They will send a certified arborist to your yard to set up a plant healthcare strategy. They can help you with trees that might have a bug problem or a disease. Plus, they can deliver mulch directly to your driveway in most cases. Just go online to hansonstree.com or call them at 636-379-1830.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
And I'm Ryan Recker filling in. Happy to be with you. And yeah, it was Hulk Hogan passing away today at the age of 71. It's just sad, you know. That I remember when someone said that in the newsroom, Hulk Hogan died. I thought they were making it up. I said, no way. Did TMZ report it? They said, yes, TMZ reported it. That's how you know it's real. I would say if I'm going to rank the accuracy of news agencies, I think TMZ may be number one on the list when it comes to accuracy.
Never thought we would be in a date and age where that would be a semi-accurate statement.
Yeah, I don't know if they're getting better or everyone else is getting worse.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the better way to put it. I think they've gotten better. In fact, it may sound like a funny statement, but if you were to look at the hard statistics and analyze the data, I think you would find TMZ actually has it right more often than any other news agency.
What's the biggest news story that you can remember TMZ being the first one?
Michael Jackson. Yeah. When Michael Jackson died, they were the first to report it. And I remember that's kind of where they got the reputation of getting it right. Yeah, because so many people were hesitant to put the information out there. TMZ was the only one that did it, and they were right. It was a big deal. And ever since then, if a celebrity dies and TMZ reports it, it's for real.
For me, because, I was like 8 or 9. When did he died in 2009? Michael Jackson?
I gotta look back.
I think it was 9 or 10. It was, I was 8, 9 years old. So I don't really remember that one that much. The one that I remember, TMZ being the first report where I literally stopped in my tracks when I saw the headline was Kobe Bryant. That's the one and that was a big one. That was a whole thing because apparently like the news had gotten out before. I don't know if it was before the family had found out or it was before the family had even had like time to even process it for a second. For example, a couple days ago, Ozzy Osbourne passes away. They said he passed away this morning, meaning that it had probably been at least several hours before being reported. You would think that was not the case with Kobe Bryant.
Yeah. Well, of course, the time difference. So
time difference and also UK, helicopter crash, it was a little bit of a different situation. Yeah. So, it's not as simple as, black and white. It's kind of comparing apples to oranges, but crazy.
By the way, do you know what Michael Jackson called TMZ?
No.
Teehee. MC. You're welcome for that.
That was Mike Elam level bad.
Was it? Was it that bad?
It was pretty bad.
So I don't know how much extra money you have, Ethan, but if you wanted to Venmo the government some cash for the debt, they're going to take donations now, just in case you wanted to.
I think that they probably take enough already. So
they do. But I'm someone that complains the prices at Taco Bell. Like I'm gonna give the money, extra money to the
Mr.
government.
Mint Mobile and
Yeah,
Spirit Airlines.
Exactly. All that money I'm saving, I can just get back to Uncle Sam. I don't think so. I think the way
if you ever were elected president, Spirit might be new Air Force One.
That would be awesome. Big yellow Air
The
Force
amount of
One.
national security that would bring.
That'd be so great. And then the attendants are rude to you all the way through. But you
it
wouldn't
becomes
care.
just hire Dick's Last Resort employees to become the attendants.
Yeah. Their attitude is, what? You're gonna go fly somewhere else for more money? Yeah, right. We're not doing that. But talking about money too. So I don't know. I would say of the three of us, Fred's probably the smartest financially. So Tyler Perry revealed that he has family members asking him for money all the time, and then he talked about how he handles it. So he's amassed a net worth of $1.4 billion. Wow. It's probably he might have us all on that one, but he revealed that he doesn't believe in providing family members with handouts. He said one time his aunt was short on cash. She begged for a job. He said, all right, fine, I'll give you some money. Then she called in sick all the time, so he fired his aunt. He said, no handouts here. And he handles the same situation with his own kids. No handouts, because he just doesn't want to be that kind of dad. I kind of admire that some.
I do too. I mean, you think, especially kids, that's the hard one, right? I imagine the justification for other family members is a little bit easier. For your kids, though, it's a little bit more challenging, right? But you want them to make their own way and to not be constantly in your shadow, in your footsteps. So I think that this is a really respectable thing, and is a good parenting skill, right? To teach them to do it on their own.
And it's not just actors. I mean, I think mainly of sports stars.
Yeah.
Think of all the family members that become on the payroll of a sports star, whether they like it or not, because they do have a lot of money and they want to share, I guess, and pay for some people.
And not to say it's not always a bad thing necessarily. It just has the potential to be, right? If all of a sudden it's riding on coattails, and that's the only way that you're amassing anything in life is because of someone else's success. That's where I think it kind of becomes an issue. You can be a good hard worker contributing to something and still be a family member. But I think those could be two different things.
Yeah, and I also think that in Fred's case, I think I remember your story, Fred. You were 12 when your mom introduced you to Robert Hyland, saying, help my boy, hire my boy. And that kind of got your radio career started. Is that right?
Well, yeah, she introduced me to him or told me to go up and talk to him at a parade when I was maybe 10 years old downtown. But I don't know if that was so much to get me a job, obviously.
I see.
Mainly because try and get to know Jack Buck.
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you were working in radio through many different eras, and here you are now. You just happen to be at the tail end of the radio spectrum of where everyone's poor. You used to work when everyone was rich in radio. Now everyone's poor. So I think there's no more Tyler Perrys in radio unless you're on a syndicated show or something like that.
Or you have a podcast.
Well, if you have a podcast with 1 million downloads an episode, maybe, but even podcasts with 20,000 doesn't even get you much anymore. I don't even know if you can quit a job and have 20,000 downloads an episode. All right. So Sue is off today. So we have Ethan's news after the break. Is that right? We're going to have that coming up on 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Things are a little slow going. If you're on 70 eastbound from 270 to past Lindbergh, a crash clearing out of the right lane. Westbound side slows from about 170 over to Lindbergh. And that your heavy First Capital over to Cave Springs with a crash in the right lane. Also clearing southbound 270, slow spots from Page to Gravois. Northbound side heavy going Page to before 70 from an earlier crash. Eastbound side 367 over the old Chain of Rocks Bridge. 170 southbound slow from Olive to 64. 64 westbound Kings Highway to Clayton, slow eastbound from 170 to Big Bend. And southbound 55 slow Gasconade to Bates. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Are you on track for saving enough money for retirement? Will what your plan is take you through all of retirement? Or maybe you don't really have a written plan, and that scares me. So this is why I recommend going to Financial and Tax Architects. They are the best in St. Louis. And what they can do is they specialize in tax-efficient retirement strategies. They can talk about how and when to claim Social Security and income planning. They can do investment guidance, and they hold a class about it and kind of teach you how things work. And then they can come up with a plan that's tailored specifically to your goals and to your needs. I'm Sue Thomas, and this is what I've been recommending. So just go ahead and call and register for a class. It's 314-888-5101. 314-888-5101, and meet them, learn some of their strategies and how they work, and see if you want to work with them. It'll make you feel better about retirement.
Is your home, business, or church looking tired, chalky, or in need of curb appeal? Go Rhino. Tired of painting year after year? Go Rhino. Our unique 3M ceramic technology is perfect for brick, stucco, aluminum, steel, color lock masonite, and more. It's backed by our 25-year transferable warranty to not chip, crack, or peel. Great if you're staying, and even better if you're selling. Our ceramic coating allows you to maintain all of your architectural features. The decision to do vinyl will leave your home looking like a plastic moldy box. With Rhino Shield, in 15 years, your home will still have that, wow, it looks like you just got it painted. We've done large condo complexes, parking garages, pole barns, and commercial strip malls. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. Evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hey, what's up, flies? This is David Spade.
Dana Carvey.
Look, I know we never actually left, but I'll just say it. We are back with another season of Fly on the Wall.
Every episode, including ones with guests, will now be on video. Every Thursday, you'll hear us and see us chatting with big-name celebrities.
And every Monday, you're stuck with just me and Dana. We react to news, what's trending, viral clips.
Follow and listen to Fly on the Wall everywhere you get your podcasts.
You ask a lot of your liver, so give it the support it needs with Active Liver. Active Liver provides an easy daily detox. Go to NordicuSA.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. New you, new Nordic.
Now back to Mark Reardon, calling out the nonsense, one segment at a time. 97.1 FM Talk.
And I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon. And during the break, I was looking at a video that Ethan sent me, which I'm going to ask for commentary later in the show. Let's just save it at that. But I'm hoping you could watch the video in real time and describe what you're watching for the audience to help them better understand why LeBron James is suing AI. But we'll get to that later in the show, too. But even though there's no Sue, let's do Sue's News.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Well, except it's not Sue. It's Ethan. But we're still going to keep on keeping on here.
All right.
Happy National Tequila Day, everyone.
Oh.
Can we get the bell? Can we get that bell? Yeah, hit that bell over there.
Yeah.
Also, it's National Drive-Through Day. Fred, when was the last time you went through a drive-through?
I can't remember.
Wow.
It's been, I don't know.
Years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you.
How about you?
Why?
How about you, Ryan?
Like, why don't you go through drive-throughs?
I don't do fast food that much. I have other vices.
Yeah. Oh, boy. I wonder what that is. It's just
I bet
speculation.
Sue would probably be in the same spot as you. It's probably
You
been
watch
years
wrestling?
for her, too.
So does your wife cook meals? Because I know you work late, or what happens?
No. We eat at home almost all the time. Yep.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I drive through when I can, but everything's so expensive. I do it very less.
Yeah, I don't eat fast food very much. I'm trying to think the last time. It's been a few months probably. It's probably been a few months. Yeah.
I do about once a week fast food.
The only time usually that I ever really will is if I get a Raising Cane's gift card. That's really the only time I will.
Okay, there you go. Raising Cane's. That might have been the last one I was through when my son was in college, and that's where he always wanted to go eat. So
so
I'd always
good.
stop at Raising Cane's and
So
pick up
good.
something.
So to all who celebrate, happy National Drive-Thru Day and National Tequila Day. So I got a couple of stories here. I'll start with this one here. Have you ever been listening to someone and they utter out something that immediately makes you question if they have any idea what they're talking about? I'm sure we've all experienced this. In fact, I experienced this just about on the daily with Ryan Wiggins.
Oh, I'm glad you said the other Ryan. Thank you.
Well, like every other day with you, but every day for sure with Ryan Wiggins. So there's a study going on. People on social media are sharing buzzwords that immediately set off their what we'll call BS alarm, right? Where like I said, you're like, there's no way. They have no idea what they're talking about. So I have a list here. I'm just going to run through it and let me know if you guys agree with these words. Calibrate. I work at a school district. Every year, here's the explanation for it, right? Every year there's a new BS buzzword. This year it's calibrate. That word comes out in a meeting or agenda, and you know the nonsense is about to get deep. Family, when people reference family when talking about work environment. Team player, anytime you hear it, that says, I know I'm about to do the majority of the work for zero credit and a little reward. Integrated with AI, that's got to be a new one. Unprecedented makes this person miss the precedent at times. Alpha or beta, I will try to keep this brief or quick question. Natural, gaslighting, and there's a bunch of these on the list. A couple others. Holistic, aesthetic, and synergy.
Oh, synergy.
Yeah,
that's the classic. That's the granddaddy of all terms for work. Synergy.
There's a bunch of them on this list, but we'll stick with. We could keep going on and on. Obviously, we know the sad news a couple of days ago of Ozzy Osbourne passing away. However, he had quite the interesting take on how he wanted his funeral to go down. He said to his family that they could do whatever they want as long as it makes them happy. He said, quote, I honestly don't care what they play at my funeral. They can put on a medley of Justin Bieber, Susan Boyle, and We Are the Diddy Men if it makes them happy. Apparently, We Are the Diddy Men is a nonsensical song by British comedian Ken Dodd. But in other interviews, he has said that he'd like his funeral to be a celebration and not a mope fest. He said he'd like them to play a Beatles song, possibly A Day in the Life. And he also said it would be fun to play a video of him asking his doctor for a second opinion. So clearly, Ozzy Osbourne had a sense of humor. This also came out recently. Paramedics reportedly tried for 2 hours to save his life. I thought that had to be that sounds like a really long time.
They announced cause of death yet?
Not that I've seen. I imagine it'll probably take, a little while, a little while here to figure out what it was.
This is a sad, someone told me this, and it's kind of a sad realization that if there's an emergency at a house, you call paramedics. The paramedics will try as long as the family will, even though the paramedics know there's no turning around and there's no turning back. This person's gone. But if you want them to just keep doing chest compressions, they'll do it for an hour if you want them to. But maybe 2 hours seems a little bit excessive, but that they'll do it. They'll try for the family. They really will.
It's really sad. Apparently there is an area in London, the Birmingham Bridge, that pays tribute to Black Sabbath, that it's become a memorial site. Drake, who played Birmingham last night, stopped by the bridge and I guess he poured one out for him. And then there's another note that is kind of interesting. Ozzy's death, you could argue either this note really morbid or kind of interesting, strangely beautiful. It says Ozzy's last performance at the back of the beginning show went down on July 5th. He died 17 days later. His dear friend Lemmy from Motorhead played his last gig in Berlin, and 17 days later he died.
Ooh. Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting. Well, so how did Lemmy die?
That I don't have. That I do not have.
Shot. Someone was shot on stage. Who was it? It was like that. I don't think it was Lemmy. It was oh man, I can't remember who it was, but there was someone very popular like that.
This says when I Googled it, it says congestive heart failure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was a smoker too, big time. I think that's what he was known for. But considering all the things that Ozzy put into his body, that seems pretty tame.
Yeah, I mean, 76 for like you said, the rock star life. That's pretty impressive. As we move on here in Ethan's news, many jobs are forcing people back to the office, and now schools may be forcing kids back into the classroom no matter what. A school district in Tennessee announced that a doctor's note would no longer be an excuse for a child's absence. The Lawrence County school system said the stricter policy is to improve the district's attendance rate. Kids will be marked present or absent, and there are punishments for absence, sick or not. After 3 no-shows, schools will start an intervention. If a kid misses 8 or more days, they'll be referred to juvenile court for truancy.
Ooh.
I think that's too far.
Ryan?
So the reason to hold them out is they're afraid of COVID? Is that the reason they're talking about?
I think it's just any reason.
I think it's just
any reason.
Yeah, it's any reason.
How many days? 17?
8.
8 days.
8
That's
or more
common.
days, and they'll be referred to juvenile court.
That happens like that. I thought a lot of school districts are like that. When you miss a certain amount of days, it goes up to review, instantly up to review. I don't know if it's given to juvenile court,
Even
but
sick or not, though.
yeah, I think a lot of schools are like this.
I've never heard of this, and the fact that it's making headliners makes me think that it's probably not that common of a thing, right?
I'm trying to remember how many days in our school district for our kid, but it's like it might be 10 days or something. But if you miss that total amount of days, they're reviewing it. Like you better have a pretty good excuse for it.
My goodness, I
Sick
just
or
think
not.
you're sick for a week, and all of a sudden, the large
used up
majority
your time.
of that's
Yeah.
gone. That just seems
Yeah.
a little intense to me personally. But who am I?
Did you ever fake being sick when you were a kid to stay home from school? Ryan?
Never. I was an Iron Man. I think I went to school every day. I don't think I once took a sick day that I can remember at all.
I don't think I ever faked it in high school, at least. In college, I feel like I did all the time. But we won't
When
have
you're
to-
paying for it.
Yeah, right. We don't have to talk about that. We'll move on here to some on this day in history. 43 years ago today, this song hit number 1 on the charts.
Oh.
The theme song from Rocky III, Survivor's Eye of the Tiger in 1982 hit number 1 on the U.S. pop charts.
Wow.
Kind of
Another
fitting.
tie-in to Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Kind of funny. The way that I familiarized myself with this song was on Guitar Hero.
This
Anyone
would be
else?
a hard one.
Anyone else? Did you play Guitar Hero with your kids or anything, Ryan, growing up?
Yeah.
They're
Well,
growing up?
Guitar Hero was before my kids, but I
Okay.
remember when it was new and how exciting that was, introducing it to friends. Like, you're not going to believe this game. It's amazing. But I thought Survivor as a band was known for opening and closing their show with that song. They played it twice.
That wouldn't surprise me. It's a good one. So we'll
Yeah.
wrap up here in Sue's news. A couple more. 27 years ago today, Saving Private Ryan was released. 20 years ago today, Lance Armstrong won his 7th straight Tour de France. Happy birthday to Jennifer Lopez, Barry Bonds, Karl Malone, Michael Richards, Kramer from Seinfeld, Amelia Earhart. Her birthday
Wow.
would have been today as well. And now the random fact of the day. Did you ever go to Planet Hollywood in the 90s? There were once, a huge big
yeah.
deal. 60 cities worldwide. There's only 2 left. One in
Wow.
Times Square and one in Disney World. And that is Ethan's news.
All right, we're going to talk wrestling with Ed Wheatley after the break. 97.1 FM Talk.
I'm Chad Robinson with Your Money Now. United Health Group says it's facing Department of Justice investigations over its Medicare billing practices. In a securities filing, the company says it started complying with formal criminal and civil requests from the DOJ, and that it reached out to the department after reports of the probes surfaced. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick saying today that TikTok will go dark for Americans unless China agrees to give the U.S. more control over the popular app. TikTok's future in the U.S. has been uncertain since last year, when Congress passed a bill that would ban the platform unless its Chinese owner, ByteDance, divested. On Wall Street, stocks finished the session mixed, with the Dow falling more than 315 points, the S&P 500 and NASDAQ both up slightly and setting fresh records. U.S. crude oil futures for September are up more than 1% above $66 a barrel. That's your money now.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Attention St. Louis Medicaid residents in need of care at home. If you need assistance with daily activities, you can receive in-home care from a loved one that lives with you and they get paid. Through Medicaid, Freedom Care allows you to choose who provides your care at home in St. Louis, and they get paid weekly. Available to eligible Medicaid members in St. Louis. Call now to check your eligibility. It can be your daughter, son, a close relative, or trusted friend helping you with cooking, transportation, laundry, and other activities in your own home. You get the help you need, and your caregiver gets paid. Freedom Care has over 7,000 5-star Google reviews and is a leading choice in St. Louis for in-home care. If you have Medicaid and want to receive great care from a loved one, go to freedomcare.com, or for faster service, call 314-597-1749. 314-597-1749. That's 314-597-1749.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The time is 4:32. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Cutting through the spin. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
And I'm Ryan Recker filling in for Mark Reardon. Just a couple of years ago, our guest released a book titled Wrestling at the Chase. What great history wrestling has with the city of St. Louis. And today, with the passing of Hulk Hogan at the age of 71, we're going to join now our author, Ed Wheatley. Thank you so much for coming on.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, I mean, Hulk Hogan spent a lot of time here in St. Louis wrestling, didn't he?
Well, he really did later on. He was like the main big star, and he really shot up the WWF, which became the WWE. But he actually had his start here in St. Louis at Wrestling at the Chase. Now, it was not the Wrestling at the Chase, the Channel 11 that we knew under Sam Muchnick. It happened a year and a half later after Muchnick had retired, and it was coming under the new ownership of McMahon and things. But he's the guy who really took it off and made it national.
I think that today it's so interesting the way people know Hulk Hogan, because some people know him strictly as a wrestler. Some people know him as an actor. Some people know him as the guy that showed up at the Republican National Convention. Some people know him for his lawsuit because he was on TMZ. I think people have really wide-ranging emotions and memories of a guy like this, but he is, I mean, for certain, a pop culture icon.
Well, he really was. I mean, and he kind of stood out in a crowd at 6'7", 300 pounds. But and there's so many great stories. I'll come back to another great story of Hulk's time in St. Louis. But to answer your question, how did he first get into wrestling? He was a guitar player, and he met up with the Jerry Briscoe and his brother, And they taught him down in Florida how to become a wrestler using his size and all that. I mean, he was just this nightclub playing guitar player, and he had some interest, and he went to the Briscoes, and they started showing him the ropes, and that set him on his way to, as you said, he was an actor. He really then shot up with Rocky III as Thunderlips. Remember when Sylvester Stallone picked him up and threw him out of the ring? And it all started coming together. And, he then became such a face. Some of it had to do with that Rocky film episodes and things. But, he's just at 6'7", he would then take on an even bigger giant, and Andre the Giant, who was 7'4". I mean, could you imagine those two guys up in the ring and falling on each other? That shows you some of the athleticism.
Get the leg drop. Don't want to mess around when Hulk Hogan brings out that leg drop.
Hey, Ed, it's Fred Bottomer here. What is it about professional wrestling that captures so many of us and we fondly recall our heroes?
Well, I think, the shtick is very fun. You can root, the real root, I think, is that rooting for bad versus evil or evil versus, you had you had your faces and your heels, the good guys, the bad guys. And, it was just we wrote about that in the book that you referenced. People fell in love, first back in the days, like at Wrestling at the Chase here in St. Louis, which was, became popular across the country. That thrill of watching the underdog win or the guy you were rooting for. And it was, there wasn't a lot of other TV. There wasn't a lot of other, in St. Louis when KPLR premiered just before, weeks before Wrestling at the Chase came on the air, we only had 3 television stations in St. Louis. And you got to look at that and answer Fred's question from that concept. There wasn't all this other distraction of entertainment. And this came on, and just to highlight that, do you know during the 50s, there was more revenue, televised revenue coming from wrestling than basketball, baseball, and football combined.
What? Baseball?
Yeah.
What?
All the bars. Well, there wasn't baseball on every night, every day. It was, very seldom. But all these bars had deals where they would show wrestling in the bars, and people fell in love with it.
Wow, that's amazing. What was the story you were going to tell about Wrestling at the Chase?
Okay. Not only was wrestling done at the Chase, going back to the 40s, Sam Muchnick would have these matches at Kiel Auditorium, which today is the Kiel Opera House there, we're next to Enterprise Center. And it was one of the biggest stops in the country. And it goes back to Sam Muchnick, and all these people would promote these events going to happen. And Bob Costas had just come to St. Louis and was one of the announcers. And Ann Keefe, if you remember, Ann Keefe was one of the at your service type personnel. So Bob and Ann and Dan Deerdorf was on KMOX doing the sports. They had the idea that this big wrestling match, they were going to go all dressed to the nines, to add some legitimacy, because they were going to do ringside reporting on the air for this big event. Hulk Hogan was there, and Hulk's usual attire is, a tank top and, and shorts and his boots. Well, they're dressed, Bob and Dan. Well, first of all, you should see the pictures of the two of them next to each other. It's amazing. Bob's pretty short, Dan's pretty big. They're in top hat with canes and tuxes, and Ann Keefe is dressed up as Jamal. Well, they go through the night. It's hilarious. It's a great thing. But afterwards, they're hungry. So they have
how about this,
limousine
Ed Wheatley, how about we play some audio from that? We actually have some audio from the event.
Okay,
can we
great.
listen to some of that? All right, let's play that if we can, Ethan.
The Hulkster asks the crowd if it's time to apply the finishing touches. Off the rope, and Bobby the Brain Heenan reaches into the ring and upends the Hulkster. Bobby the Brain Heenan now picked up by the Hulkster. The Hulkster holding Heenan overhead. The circulation cut off. Now Orndorff attacks the Hulkster from behind. Heenan is dragged into the fray, and now it's 1 against 2. Oh, this has happened before, where Bobby the Brain Heenan has been a factor in a wrestling. Oh, whoa! Orndorff kicking and stomping the referee. Mayhem in the ring. The referee trying to step in between Orndorff and Hogan, declaring that it's unfair to go 2 against 1, and instead the referee is belted to the mat by Orndorff. And now it's Orndorff and manager against Hulk Hogan. He grabs them both by the hair. The Hulkster now butts the heads together in Three Stooges style. And both Orndorff and Heenan go to the mat. The Weasel.
Bobby.
Why didn't I laugh?
Bobby the Brain Heenan in an attempt to escape. Grabbed by the pants by Hulk. Dragged back into the ring.
Three Stooges style. I love that.
That's great stuff.
You hear him hitting the
And
turnbuckle.
that's why you wonder. That's why people love it, you know.
So, Ed, tell us
they
the
had that
story.
wrestling.
What happened after that match?
So they leave the match. They're hungry, and there's a White Castle down at Manchester in Vandeventer. So 2:30 in the morning, they pull up in the stretch limousine. Dan and Bob, top hats and tuxes, Ann in her mole, evening dress, and the Hulk in his, gym shorts were very high from the knee in those days, in his tank top. And they said there were all these winos just hanging on the corner there, leaning against the White Castle. And here they came out one by one out of this big stretch limousine. And all these people they looked up, winos passed up, half passed out. And they got up and they started running as they all walked into the White Castle. Bob Custis loves to tell that story.
I love it too. I love that idea. The whole visual of it's 2:30 in the morning. You're pass out drunk. You wake up and there is Bob Costas, Dan Deerdorf, Ann Keefe, and Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
And they pull up in a limo of all places, of all types of vehicles for a White Castle. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ultimate. Am I really drunk or what?
Yeah, no one's going to believe you. Go ahead, tell your friends that the next morning. So there I was, passed out with sliders at a White Castle. I wake up and Hulk Hogan standing next to me. Yeah, right.
That's right. So I thought
Ed
you
Wheatley,
enjoyed that story.
I love the wrestling at the Chase and all the different history of these athletes that came through. I guess when you look at Hulk Hogan as an athlete, the argument was made by someone that he may have been one of the at least biggest athletes in the world, at least at one point in time, most well known. Do you think that's true?
I think it's true. I think all these guys, as you really study the sport, and it has a shtick, but at the end of the day, they are strong athletes. Can you imagine 500-pound Andre the Giant, as I said, 7'4", doing a body slam on you and taking it?
I'd be gone.
And most of these guys were, real professional football players. In my book, one of my favorite pictures in the book is the early 1950s Green Bay Packers. And there's this humongous, in the very center of the team photo on the bench risers, a guy with number 72, Dick the Bruiser. And he was just massive. And, he got hurt playing for the Packers, and that's how he came into wrestling. But the Briscoes, they were all star players in football. So I mean, all these men were extremely athletic for what they did and do. All the ones that you heard, on the air a moment ago, they were athletic. But Hulk, he had that athleticism, but he had that Hollywood shine to him as well. And when he was there, you knew it, even at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I can't think of any other wrestler that had this pop culture standing before Hulk Hogan was in the movies, television. I really can't think of any.
No. I mean, there were some that had, as you said, kind of a pop star type of thing. Mainly they were local, like Dick the Bruiser, here in the Midwest, we all knew Dick the Bruiser, and, you had, Orndorff, or you had, Cowboy Bob Ellis, or, all these guys, but Hulk Hogan was above them. And I don't know, if it really shot him out of the box, when he did that Rocky movie, but, a lot of it always comes back to, that's where he got this real start that shot him up into this superstar personality. He was made for Hollywood in his dress, that Fu Manchu, and his bright colors and feathers. It worked.
Yeah. Well, I know Fred would write about him all the time when he was younger.
I did.
I don't know, Ed, if you knew this, but Fred he created this newsletter where he would write up summaries of wrestling matches and things, and he had subscribers all across the world, it sounds like.
He had talked to me about that when we were writing the books. You had a big shoebox of cards and all the matches.
Oh yeah,
Fred?
yeah. I've got all the matches recorded. Yeah, or not tape recorded, but I kept track of all of them.
That's great.
Yeah.
Doing your research.
Definite wrestling nerd.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was.
All right. Well, Ed Wheatley, if people wanted to look up your book or maybe some of the other things you're doing too, where can they go?
Well, you can go to all the brick and mortar stores, Amazon, all the online venues have all my books. We got a new one out about St. Louis to Cooperstown, all the great players from St. Louis and Cooperstown wrestling. You can go to 9PBS, pull up 9PBS, or Wrestling at the Chase PBS Emmy-nominated movie is out there too that you can stream. So go back and revisit all those glory days.
Wow, I don't know if I ever watched that one. That's fantastic. I'm going to have to go back and look at it.
It's a good one. Yeah, you can get it on 9PBS, our local PBS station here. I think you can get it on the national one too, but I know you can get in there, just type Wrestling at the Chase and it'll come up, and it's fantastic. Like I said, we got nominated for an Emmy and everything, and it will bring back smiles to your face.
Do you think if Hulk Hogan dropped me with his leg, it would kill me? Like, do you think it would have been a fatal blow for any regular person, not a wrestler?
I wouldn't want it to happen to me, so I'll just leave it at that.
At one point, he told a story to Richard Belzer. Remember the comedian Richard Belzer?
Yeah.
He told a story to Bob Costas that, and he had tape of this. He had Hulk Hogan on, early in both their careers, and he put him in a headlock, and Richard Belzer passed out, fell, hit the ground, got it like a concussion, and he won a big settlement out of that.
Yeah. That was a case. Remember John Stossel did some of that.
That's right.
On that ABC special, and the poor guy got banged up pretty bad.
Didn't he?
Yeah. I just wouldn't. I would try to be faster than Hulk Hogan. I put it that way, because I don't grab you for shoulders. But
all right, Ed Wheatley, local author, and you can find his books online, including Wrestling at the Chase. Go see his documentary as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Ed. We appreciate it.
Anytime you need, call me and we'll be there, buddy.
Good old sports talk, but I'll tell you, Hulk Hogan passing away today at the age of 71 took a lot of people by surprise. Joining us after the break is a partner and managing director at One Private Wealth, based in Chesterfield, and with President Donald Trump visiting the Fed today to take a look at the renovations. What's going on? Are they kissing and making up? Are they good now? Is Jerome Powell and Donald Trump on good terms? Maybe is he thinking about not firing him? Now, of course, they're next year talking about replacing him. Maybe that could change too. I don't know. Dave Simons joins us after the break. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Things are pretty heavy if you're on 70. If you're on the westbound side, it's pretty jammed up between 170 and Lindbergh, then before First Capital over to Cave Springs with the crash in the two left lanes. Eastbound side is heavy going through that same spot. And then we've got about First Capital on over to past 270. And there was an earlier crash that's been cleared. 270 southbound Page to Gravois slow, and 170 southbound you'll find the same between Olive and 64. 64 westbound heavy Kings Highway to Clayton, then through Chesterfield, the eastbound side through Chesterfield as well, and then Lindbergh to Big Bend. 55 southbound, pretty heavy between Gasconade and Bates. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This summer, while you stay cool, our first responders stay on the front lines. The St. Louis First Responder Canteen is there to keep them hydrated and supported. Find out how you can help by visiting 971talk.com/talkinaction.
This year, fuel prices have been a bit of a roller coaster. Here in St. Louis, drivers finally have some relief at the pump. But when it comes to groceries and food, it's still pretty bumpy out there. Well, you know what can make your ride smoother? The Upside app. With Upside, you can earn an average 8% cash back on grocery or restaurant purchases and up to 25 cents per gallon on gas, which means there's money to be earned even when fuel prices are low. There are hundreds of nearby locations like Schnucks, Burger King, Arby's, and Taco Bell. Download the app and see why millions of Upside users have racked up almost $1 billion in cash back earned. For a limited time, Get a 10% bonus on your first purchase with promo code STL11. That's promo code STL11 for an extra 10% cash back bonus. With Upside, you can roll up to a nearby grocery store, restaurant, or gas station and coast straight to cashback earnings. Don't forget to use promo code STL11. Upside. Cashback smarter. Offers vary by user and location. Terms and conditions apply. Go to upside.com for details.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, August 5th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Here are Bob and Tammy with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired? Do you have your personalized income plan in place? Would you like to learn why linking to the market is much safer than owning the market, and how in 39 years we have never lost a penny of our clients' money?
Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your market gains every year without having to sell? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, at the Frontenac Hilton, Tuesday, August 5th at 6:30. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Are you looking for an easy way to get a daily detox? Active Liver is the easy way to get a daily detox to keep you healthy and feeling your best. You can find Active Liver in the vitamin aisle at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
Back to Mark Reardon, because someone's got to say it out loud. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
There was a quick Hulk Hogan story I forgot to mention to you guys. So back when I was working in Fort Wayne, I was up for an award. They did like the company awards. And they said, if you win the award, what intro song music do you want? Like, if you walk up to accept it, we play music, you get to pick. And I said, I want I'm a Real American, the Hulk Hogan's theme song. And they refused to play it at the award ceremony. When I won that, they didn't play my song. They played everyone else's song. They wouldn't play Hulk Hogan's lead-up song. One of my biggest regrets in my professional career. I should have sang it up in the podium. Hulk, will miss you. Joining us now is partner and managing director at One Private Wealth, Dave Simons. Thank you so much for joining us here.
You bet, Ryan. And I don't mean to hijack what we're going to talk about, but a quick Hulk Hogan story. Back when I was a Cub reporter in the 80s, I was tasked with interviewing Hulk Hogan live during a 5 o'clock news broadcast in Wichita, Kansas. And let me tell you, it went off the rails, and people will still talk about it nearly 40 years later from Wichita. Let's just say he started yelling at me and calling me Dangerous Dave. So I still hold that moniker. I had spit flying all over me. It was, I'll leave you with that, but it was something that I still proudly hold dear.
Wow. Was he all greased up too? Sweaty? I mean, was he in
No.
character?
But that's the funny thing, Ryan, because when he walked out and we were talking before we went live, he was as normal as you and I are talking. He's like, "Oh, hi, Dave. Where are you from? Oh, you're from St. Louis. Oh, yeah, we were just there the other night. Lights came on live. Well, I'll tell you what, Dangerous Dave." I mean, just went into character mode.
All right. So that's so great. And I'm going to miss him. What a great pop culture icon. All right. So today you had President Donald Trump and Jerome Powell giving a quick little tour of some of the renovations going on at the Federal Reserve.
Yes.
I want to play a clip from you because it sounds like a little kumbaya moment between the two of them. Let's play that clip.
So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out. I don't know who does that.
You're including the market renovation. You just added.
Our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no, but it's a building that's being built. Nice to take these off every once in a while.
All right. So, but they were like, it seemed like they were getting along for a second there. I don't know. Maybe that was contentious. Maybe I'm misreading it. All right. Where do you think they stand today? And how do you think the rates will be impacted?
Well, the they meet next week, the Fed does, and it's widely expected that they will not lower rates. It is also widely expected that they will start lowering short-term rates at their meeting in September. And that's really what has gotten under the president's skin, because he thinks, obviously, the Fed should start lowering rates now. But, it's a tough job. And it's been tough for everybody. And I think we talked about this last time, but I've gone back and looked at presidents since FDR and the relationship with the Fed governors. And it's always been somewhat contentious. It's just this one is out in the open. But I think a lot of people were expecting some fireworks. I'm glad it didn't happen today, frankly.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know the president made up with Elon Musk after hurting his business and then coming back saying, no, I wish the best for him. I don't want to see his business hurt. I thought, okay, maybe it's the week of reconciling with some of the public disputes that you had. All right. What do you think next? I can't remember if you made this prediction or not. You think the rates are going to stay steady next time they meet?
Yeah, I think that's the consensus because, Jay Powell, one of the things about these Fed governors is they don't want the market to be surprised. Wall Street just hates uncertainty. So little leaks happen, little off-the-record comments occur just to kind of give a hint to Wall Street. This is what you might all expect from us next week or in a couple of weeks or whenever that they might meet. And of course, it's next week. And the consensus is almost 0% chance that they'll cut rates. So that's what I'm going with. I think that's what the market expects. Who knows about September? I have been on record saying I think they should start cutting now. Mm-hmm. And I changed my mind about a month ago because it takes 6 to 9 months for Fed actions to even have any kind of an impact on the economy. And I just hope that they're not waiting too long because we're seeing some slowdown.
Yep. Dave Simons, partner and managing director at One Private Wealth based in Chesterfield. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate the insight.
Thanks, Ryan. Have a great day.
Duane Patterson joining us after the break. We'll get to Fox News. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon, 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, things are calming down a little bit. If you're headed on 70 on your westbound side, you're a little slow going from First Capital out to Cave Springs yet. That's mostly because of an earlier crash. Eastbound side is slow through that same kind of general region, and then 141 over to 270, and then some pockets over to 170 past through the airport area. 270 on your southbound side from Page to Gravois slow. 64 westbound Kings Highway pretty jammed up to Clayton, then through Chesterfield some slow spots. Eastbound side slow. Lindbergh to Big Bend. 55 southbound Gasconade to Bates, and we've got 170 southbound from Olive pretty jammed down to 64. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon with news for listeners who, like me, want to learn more about Bitcoin. Bitcoin Ben's Crypto Club is coming to St. Louis later this summer. The Bitcoin Ben Crypto Clubs teach members what Bitcoin is, how to buy it, how to safely store it, and how to avoid scams. And we'll connect with others like us who want to learn more about crypto. St. Louis will be the 7th club nationwide and Ben's hometown. If you want to know more about Bitcoin, you need to know Bitcoin Ben. Learn more at bitcoinben.io. That's bitcoinben.io.
Mark Cox here. Let me introduce you to my friends at the Lit Cigar Lounge in St. Louis, where luxury meets comfort. Premium hand-rolled cigars, an extensive selection of rare bourbons and whiskeys and craft cocktails. It's comfortable for non-smokers, too. They have a state-of-the-art ventilation system. They have private lockers and live music every Friday night, perfect for date nights or business meetings or just winding down. Visit litstl.com.
When's the last time you gave your home's exterior a little love? Hi, it's Kim, and if your siding is cracking, it's fading, or just doesn't stand up to our St. Louis weather, it's time to call Lakeside Renovation and Design because they're experts in James Hardy siding, which is this durable, low-maintenance option, and it looks beautiful. Plus, you have customizable colors and textures, and so you can give your home a completely new look while protecting it for decades. Don't wait until the small problems turn into big ones. Visit lakesidearty.com to schedule your free consultation.
The reason many of us hate insurance companies is because some of them act like bullies. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. I've been dealing with these creatures my whole career. Whether it's a workers' comp claim, an auto accident, or a nursing home or medical mishap, the playbook is often the same: deny and delay. We became the largest injury firm in America for a reason. We fight the bullies. They know who we are, and I know it makes a difference for our clients. Just go to forthepeople.com and see our results and our verdicts after those bullies gave us their final offer. Hiring the wrong firm can be disastrous. Hiring the right firm could substantially increase your settlement. It's easy to get going. Visit forthepeople.com on your phone or computer, or call us on your cell at pound law, pound 529. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. forthepeople.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Let's show our appreciation for local heroes. Mark Cox here. Nominate a first responder and their department could get lunch from Grill Master Tony's. I'll personally deliver it. Share their story at 971talk.com. Nominate them today.
KFTK FM Florissant. An Odyssey station.
A meeting with the head of the Federal Reserve. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump took a tour of the construction of the headquarters of the central bank after saying the project has had cost overruns. Jerome Powell said that's not true. The president had also been critical of Powell for not lowering interest rates.
I just want to see one thing happen. Very simple. Interest rates have to come down.
But the president said he has no plans to replace Powell before his term is up.
To do that is a big move, and I just don't think it's necessary.
Powell is expected to serve through next May. The president signed a bill that would rescind close to $9 billion in federal funding previously approved by Congress for public broadcasting and foreign aid. The cuts were approved by the Senate and the House earlier this month. U.S. negotiators are cutting off talks aimed at reaching a ceasefire in Gaza.
The U.S. team negotiating in Doha is heading home early. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says the latest response from Hamas clearly shows a lack of desire to reach a ceasefire in Gaza. And Hamas, he says, is not acting in good faith. Witkoff now says the Trump administration will consider alternative options to bring hostages home and create a more stable environment for the people of Gaza. In a statement, he says Hamas has acted in a selfish way. A U.S.-backed plan called for a 60-day ceasefire for the release of at least 10 living hostages from Gaza and hundreds of Palestinian prisoners in Israel freed.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. French President Emmanuel Macron says France will recognize Palestine as a state. Macron posting on X, he will formalize the decision at the United Nations General Assembly in September. The move coming as global outrage grows over people starving in Gaza. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemned the move, saying it rewards terror and risks creating another Iranian proxy. Wall Street, the Dow lost 360 and the Nasdaq plus 37, adding to its record. America is listening to Fox News.
There's nothing like when you get that part from eBay and it just fits. Yeah, the first time. So you can do less of this and get right back to more of this. At eBay, you'll find all the parts you need, guaranteed to fit, at prices you'll love. Sounds good, doesn't it? eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions, like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
It is the hardcore feel of summer going through our Thursday afternoon. Partly sunny, hot and humid. 99 today, the heat index 108. Warm and humid tonight, 77. 80 plus for the city. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, partly sunny, hot and humid. Each day, though, could bring some spot afternoon thunderstorms. 95 Friday, 97 Saturday, 98 on Sunday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
And I'm Ryan Recker filling in. Wow, what a great show so far. I've really had a lot of fun. Joining us now is someone with hotair.com. You can also check out his podcast, Duane's World, his blog. That way, too, producer of the Hugh Hewitt Show, Duane Patterson. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, that was a great intro, Ryan. We've had a great show thus far, and now we're going to Hot Air's guy. That was kind of fun.
If you can just bear with us for another 10 minutes, I swear it'll get better.
Exactly.
Okay, I wanted to throw at you headlines, and I want you to tell me what, in the order you think they should be ranked in importance. Okay? Ozzy Osbourne passes away. Hulk Hogan passes away. Department of Justice getting the Obama files. You have the Epstein controversy and perhaps Maxwell singing like a canary. I think that was what some people are mentioning. So the further of that. So of those 4 stories, how would you rank them?
Now, you preface it by what should be important, right? Or what is.
What should be important.
What should be
the order?
What should be is the referral to the DOJ. That should be number 1.
Okay. Number 1.
Number 2, I would say culturally, Hulk Hogan had a bigger influence than Ozzy Osbourne did. Although Ozzy Osbourne certainly had his following as well. But I mean, my gracious, how many kids had little Hulkamaniac dolls when they were growing up as kids? I mean, Hulk was around for several decades. I would put probably Hulk 2, Ozzy 3, and the Epstein stuff 4th. And the reason I put the Epstein thing 4th out of those 4 is because, honestly, I mean, just nobody has been able to make the credible case to me that a Merrick Garland Department of Justice willing to interact with state prosecution and special counsels, throwing everything they could at Donald Trump to lock him up, indict him, arrest him, mugshot him, raid Mar-a-Lago, go through Melania's panty drawer. I mean, everything they could throw at him, they threw at him. And you're telling me that if there was some secret thing on a file somewhere that they could cherry pick and isolate of Donald Trump being a problem with Jeffrey Epstein, they wouldn't have released that somewhere along the way? It just defies credulity to believe that. So if there was a there, I think it would have been out by now.
Okay, well, let's talk about those files then. And you have Tulsi Gabbard coming out and saying, how about we refer this for a further investigation? In fact, you have other senators that want to see this really escalated quite quickly. Yeah. To get a task force. Okay. There is some immunity for Barack Obama. Is this just basically a way to show you that Donald Trump is vindicated? He was right all along. Is this a way to embarrass him? Is this a way to hurt the Democratic Party? What do you think the outcome and the most likely scenario would be if they continue to investigate this?
Oh, the most likely scenario is John Brennan's probably going to be the guy that is in the most legal jeopardy, I would think. Do I think that Bill and Hillary Clinton are going to be frog marched, or Barack Obama, or anybody like that? No, I am under no delusion that this is going to be one of those moments where you can say, "Oh, finally, justice." I'm not that naive, but people like James Brennan, he is. How did I see it phrased on Fox earlier today? I think it was said on Fox today that he's the equivalent of a 30-point buck out in the open. He's a pretty big fish, and he has no immunity. And he certainly wasn't, he didn't get one of those auto pen pardons. So he's a sitting duck right now.
I tend to agree with that too. I think that,
I guess. And John Brennan, by the way, let's keep in mind the kind of character that John Brennan is. If you're talking about the intelligence community of the United States over the last couple of decades, John Brennan is like the Nosferatu of intel assets.
What about, I guess, going into the direction of the people around him and at least finding some truth of what went on in that 2016 election. Here's what I would say. More times than not, Donald Trump is found to be telling the truth when they call him a liar. And the things that he say are real, and what's happening tend to be vindicated down the line. However, he doesn't get the credit for it, nor does the media go and correct themselves. So I tend to give him the benefit of the doubt on a lot of these different stories. But when it comes to stories like Jeffrey Epstein and the gravity of the nature of what's surrounding him, it gets a little bit more trickier. But I think the biggest piece of evidence is what you brought up. There's no way Democrats would have sat on that information if it was real. There's no chance.
I mean, you were alive and sentient during the 24 campaign cycle. If there was anything that they could have thrown at Donald Trump, do you think that they would have had any filter whatsoever? And the they I'm talking about is either the Biden camp, the Kamala Harris camp, or our friends in resistance media. Do you think if they could have cherry picked, even if they could have invented using AI some image of Donald Trump doing something nefarious, you think they wouldn't have stooped to that level if there was any basis to it whatsoever?
Yeah, no, they would have, for sure. Duane Patterson is joining us here, hotair.com, host of Duane's World, podcast producer of the Hugh Hewitt Show. I can't remember the last time we spoke. It's probably been a month plus, but the last time we spoke, you said something really nice about me on your blog, so I really appreciate that. I appreciate that. I want to tell you, I saw it, and it made my day. I did a quick little, sometimes I search to see, like, okay, I'm just going to search my name real quick. And it popped up on your blog, and you said nice things. So, Duane, thank you.
I have always found that in our business, there's just no reason, there's really no reason to make enemies unless they're people that are actually harming the country. And then I've got a problem with it. When you're burying stories intentionally, as our friend Iowa Hawk Blog would say, if you're trying to cover stories with a pillow until they quit moving, then you're not really doing your job right. But I like to give people in our business the benefit of the doubt, unless they're part of the Borg or the blob back east that's trying to play favorites.
Yep. All right. I want to read you a headline. This is from Axios. President Trump said on Thursday that he wanted to see Elon Musk's companies thrive one day after the White House said he didn't want Musk's AI to get government contracts. So, okay, it's a little bit complicated, but it's been a little bit rocky. It looks like that's a step in maybe they can reconcile things a little bit down the line. Do you ever think Donald Trump and Jerome Powell will ever see eye to eye or ever reconcile? Or is it pretty much dead man walking at this point for Jerome Powell?
Well, you see, that's the kind of fascinating thing about this. It was like a Godfather trip, wasn't it? When Donald Trump went over to the Fed. It was almost like he had cotton in the jowls, right? And he starts walking around with the helmet on, saying, I like these construction sites. Now, let me give you just a real quick history of Donald Trump. The first time that we interviewed Donald Trump on the Hugh Hewitt Show, was back in probably 2012, 2013, well before he came down the escalator. Donald Trump was approached at one point, or his construction company, Trump whatever, was in the market to maybe pick up a refurbishing contract for the United Nations building in Lower Manhattan. And they chose not to go with his company, and instead they picked some sweetheart contractor that they were getting kickbacks from. And of course, it went way over budget, and it was a rotten job, and they had all sorts of problems with it. And the House brought Donald Trump to testify on the UN disaster because it was like, $1 billion something over budget. And Donald Trump was, this is when we got to know who Donald Trump was. And he knows a thing or two about real estate and how to build buildings, right? I mean, you can say that Donald Trump doesn't know a lot about certain things, even though he tends to turn out that he knows more than you think he does. He knows about real estate and he knows how to build buildings. And he went on a tirade in this House testimony. And at the end, he says, "Good luck, fellas. You got a real mess on your hands." And when we heard that, I'm thinking, okay, so he's going to go under the auspices of checking out this refurbishing project. That's, again, way over budget. And he brings the media with him. The media gaggle follows him around. He's got his helmet on. And Jerome Powell's right next to him. And he fields a reporter's question who says, so what would you do if your project manager was $1 billion over budget? And Trump says, I'd fire him. Right next to Jerome Powell. And Powell had the look in his face like he was looking for the Rolaids. He was looking for the Pepsis at that point. Now,
That's right.
So you've got that whole thing going on as the auspices of why he came to visit. You know, they had a little one-on-one time where Donald Trump said, so about these interest rates, right?
Yes.
And you know they had that personal that personal conversation. And at the end, he tells the media, I'm sure Jerome Powell's going to do the right thing. I know he knows how important it is to get. So you, and then of course the reporters say, well, but this trip over here, are you pressuring him? Oh no, I'm not pressuring him at all. I'm just checking out the building. Of course, he went over there and said, look, we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. Can they reconcile? I think if Jerome Powell and the Fed board lowers rates for the next two meetings and lowers it substantially enough to not get in Trump's way, Trump might say, hey, you know, Powell's doing a good job lately. I could see Trump pivoting on a dime if he gets what he wants.
Okay. Well, going back to the Hugh Hewitt show, and you had Donald Trump as a guest, does that mean you have Donald Trump's phone number?
Actually, we do.
Okay. You know,
no, you can't have.
No, I wasn't going to ask, but I heard a story that after he won the 2016 election, he was doing all these interviews, of course, with media, and there was I think it was in Atlanta. He did a radio show interview, and they're like, you know what? It's the day after he won the election. Let's just call the number and see if he answers. And how about that? Donald Trump answered after he gave his big victory speech. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting. He keeps the same phone number. And I always am fascinated at the idea that you can have a president of the United States saved in your contacts.
Well, and again, it's juxtapose that with the previous occupant of 1600 and how inaccessible he was. Even his own donors couldn't get him on the phone. You know, Joe Biden was in a bubble because he was basically a walking vegetable. And Donald Trump is, you can say a lot of things good and bad about him if that's your predisposition. But the guy is transparent, and the guy will take any questions. He has spent more minutes answering media questions in 6 months than Barack Obama and Joe Biden did in 12 years combined. He sometimes does 4 different press avails a day. It's astounding what he actually does. You mentioned having the president's number. A lot of most journos in D.C. actually have his phone number. When we saw yesterday, CNN try to change the narrative from the Tulsi Gabbard Russiagate expose. They cut away from Tulsi Gabbard, and they're like, no, but Epstein. They went all day. We got to make Epstein the story. That's the most important thing because we found pictures of Epstein at Donald Trump's wedding 22 years ago. That's what everybody cares about. Andrew Kaczynski, who does the K-File, was on, and he said, I called the president. I've got his phone number. I called him. And how'd that conversation go, Andrew? It went for about 30 seconds. He answered, and I told him what I was doing and what the story was, and I wanted to know if he wanted to comment on all these Epstein revelations. And the president says, you got to be kidding me, and hung up on him. But he answered the phone. He answered the call.
This is one of those, going back to the vindication side. Every time this comes up, when we learn about and documents become sort of public and we get to see behind the Epstein thing, what we find is that people try to draw Donald Trump into it, which is really fascinating because you hear some of the testimonies in the transcripts from the victims, and the people that are doing these sort of depositions are saying, so tell me when you saw Trump there. And they'll say, no, we never saw Trump there. But you certainly saw him at the airport. Oh, you saw him on the plane. But they tried to inject in there, and all of them said no, 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 no to him. And then they put up this big document dump, and his hotel was mentioned, Trump Hotel. So, you can Google search and see Trump's names in the transcript when they're mentioning his hotel, but it doesn't say anything about him as a participant in any of this perverted stuff. So I tend to hear these type of stories and dismiss them pretty quickly.
Well, and I do too, because lost in the media's portrayal or attempted portrayal to sling the mud is they don't report the fact that Donald Trump didn't like Epstein much and threw him out of his club. Threw him out of. I mean, he went along with him because he was kind of a player back in the 90s. And once he kind of figured out, this guy's kind of a creepy guy, I don't want to have anything to do with him, he booted him out. Okay, Bill Clinton didn't do that.
No, he did not. In fact, it's quite the opposite, actually. Duane Patterson, if people want to look you up online, where can they go?
DuaneWorld.com, DUANE world.com. And I
there you
appreciate
are.
the plug.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time here today. I always enjoy the conversation.
You got it. Thanks, Ryan.
And joining us after the break, Billboard Chris, big announcement. Kaiser Permanente is announcing that they're going to stop gender surgery on minors. And I think Billboard Chris would have something to say about that coming up, too. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon, 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've got a mess on the southbound side of 270. It's slow from Page to 55 all the way down. The closer you get to 55, the heavier it gets. There's a crash, only the left lane getting by. 70 eastbound, slow spots from 141 to Bermuda. Westbound side from about 367 over to Lucas Hunt, and spots from First Capital to 64. 170 southbound, Forest Park Parkway down to 64, a little tight. Northbound side from St. Charles Rock Road up to 70. Eastbound on 64, slow spots from 340 to about Big Bend. Westbound side from Boyle over to Lindbergh, then through Chesterfield, and 55 southbound, slow Gasconade to Bates. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. If you need to sell your home to buy a new one, it's never been more important to have an experienced negotiator that you can trust. You need my friends Mark and Neil Gelman on your side. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Scott, can you believe it's already been more than a decade since the Queen of Carpets sold flooring to St. Louis area contractors?
I know, but I don't have to be a king to offer contractors today's lowest prices.
Yes, contractors owe it to their customers and themselves to shop at Best Buy Flooring for the largest in-stock selection of carpet, carpet tile, sheet vinyl, laminate, hardwood, luxury vinyl plank, and luxury vinyl tile.
Plus 3 convenient locations, North County, South County, and Metro East.
Open 7 days a week.
Best flooring, best selection, Best Buy Flooring.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Land Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
While you start to think spring, that might mean a move is in your future. But the question is, when is the right time to buy? Well, I go to my friend Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage to ask that question. Stewie, how do buyers beat the competition when they're looking to buy a new home?
All right, Annie, we're going to give you 3 big bullets. Number 1, get the BAGO loan. No closing costs. If you don't have to pay those closing costs, add it to the bid. You'll beat all the other offers. Number 2, tell the seller you're going to close in 10 10 days. 10 days. Most lenders take 30 days just to get the loan approved. He's going to take your offer over everybody else's right away. Number 3, we give you the power of the pre-approval in your hands. You can access our portal anytime you want and generate your own pre-approval letter. Don't wait for the lender. You can make it happen yourself.
Well, the smart move starts by calling or texting my friend Stewie at 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. He just gave you those 3 tips to smart buying to beat the competition. Google the bagel loan for more information. NMLS number 226715.
From politics to pop culture, Reardon breaks it all down. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
And I'm Ryan Recker filling in. One of the big headlines today, Kaiser Permanente stops surgeries for minors, these gender-affirming surgeries. And this is a big deal. It's a huge, I think 12 million members in 8 states are people that use Kaiser Permanente. I think mostly in California. That's where they're based out of. Oakland. That's, I think, where a lot of their base is. But still, citing an evolving legal and regulatory environment for gender-affirming care, recent actions by the Trump administration to restrict access to prescription medications, including puberty blockers and hormones, and in rare cases, transition-related surgeries for youth. People tiptoe and dance around what is involved with transition-related surgeries, and you have to really highlight that word surgeries. It's gender mutilation, genital mutilation, rather. And when you think about the severity of what some of these men, rather boys, do to their bodies, or girls do to their bodies, and trying to back up what they feel at the time is the right decision. As a minor, we don't allow them to do anything else. We don't allow them to elect these type of cosmetic surgeries on their own, nor would we let their parents step in and say, you know, my kid's mental health really needs a tattoo, so I'm going to take them to the tattoo artist. You know, my kid's 11 and really wants to get a tattoo on their forehead. So, hey, this tattoo artist, you have to do it for them, or, you know, their mental illness will get worse, and we have to just tattoo right across their forehead. No tattoo artist in the world would do that. When it comes to doctors, it makes me wonder, why would a doctor perform surgeries like this? It almost makes me feel like their board of ethics, their level of ethics are in question if they would even consider doing something like this. I'm looking at this from The Hill. This is one of the write-ups of the many write-ups, but it says, addressing a joint session of Congress in March, Trump, who campaigned heavily on a promise to ban gender-affirming care for minors, called on lawmakers to pass legislation permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. He also endorsed a bill by Marjorie Taylor Greene that would make it illegal to provide gender-affirming care to youth, which I think would be the right way to handle that. Just make it so it's not even an option. Pressures alone stop this sort of mutilation, at least on the hospital and doctor side. But what we haven't seen so far is that taking over to every hospital, every doctor. So it looks like our guest, is it possible? Billboard Chris, is he not answering anything? That's a shame. Hopefully we'll be able to catch him at some point, right? Oh, okay. We'll get him next segment. That'll work pretty well. I think that I'm always gravely concerned that the things that we do because we feel it is the humane thing to do, which is kind of reminds me of that old Bill Cosby bit on his comedy record. Do you remember Bill Cosby? And he was talking about making his kids chocolate cake for breakfast. He wakes up, his wife's like, okay, make the kids breakfast. And he's like, wait, there's eggs in cake. That's healthy for you. There's milk in cake. That's healthy for you. Let's feed the kids chocolate cake. And the kids are happy. The kids got chocolate cake and they're, singing the praises of dad because they got the chocolate cake. Well, guess what? That's what kids do. They don't make the best decisions for themselves because they're children. And what's even worse is what you find is inside of schools where teachers and people that are not related to these children, that are not their parents, are sometimes putting these messages and ideas into the kids' minds, or making decisions for them, or allowing them to make these decisions and not telling the parents of what's going on. It's cutting the parents out, and in some cases, saying that, hey, you know what, kid, you got it all figured out at 8, so we're just going to let you do whatever you want to your body, is a dangerous, dangerous thing. So we're going to be joined by Billboard Chris coming up after the break, and the big news that we just saw here in Kaiser Permanente. I'm saying it weird, but this is a big news that they have electively decided to stop these genital mutilation surgeries for children. So this is a big first step. We'll get his take on that coming up. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Mark Reardon, 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, things are going to be a little slow for you if you're on 270 southbound from Page down to 55. We've got a crash. We're just a left lane getting by. The 3 rights are taken out. 170 southbound, slow going from Forest Park Parkway to 64. Your northbound side from St. Charles Rock Road to 70. Westbound on 64, heavy boil to Lindbergh, then through Chesterfield. Eastbound side's kind of through Chesterfield as well. Then slow spots from 340 to Big Bend. And 55 southbound, slow Gasconade to Bates. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Hi, my name is Christina Straight, the owner of Straight Realty, and I'm asking you, what do you want in a realtor? Do you want experience? I've been a broker for over 21 years. Do you want to know how much I've sold? I've sold over $500 million, yes, $1 billion with a B, in sales. Do you want value? I now list properties for only 2%. So, if you're looking for all these things and want the best, then call me 314-441-4444. Why pay more than 2? You can also listen to my podcast on my website, straightrealty.com.
Commissions are not regulated and non-negotiable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
Have you been notified that your subsidy for Obamacare health insurance is going away? Well, you can leave now while you're still healthy and qualify for much better individual plans. Greg Hammonds at greghammonds.com has been helping people get affordable health insurance with great coverage for over 35 years. Greg offers private health insurance plans that are not on the ACA marketplace. You can pick your doctors. For most claims, you won't even pay a deductible, and they're 30 to 60% lower cost than Obamacare. One more thing, there's no tax penalty at the end of the year. Greg even has plans that are guaranteed acceptance. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Greg at 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. He can custom design a plan by you, not the government.
This year, fuel prices have been a bit of a roller coaster. Here in St. Louis, drivers finally have some relief at the pump. But when it comes to groceries and food, it's still pretty bumpy out there. Well, you know what can make your ride smoother? The Upside app. With Upside, you can earn an average 8% cash back on grocery or restaurant purchases and up to 25 cents per gallon on gas, which means there's money to be earned even when fuel prices are low. There are hundreds of nearby locations like Schnucks, Burger King, Arby's, and Taco Bell. Download the app and see why millions of Upside users have racked up almost $1 billion in cash back earned. For a limited time, get a 10% bonus on your first purchase with promo code STL11. That's promo code STL11 for an extra 10% cash back bonus. With Upside, you can roll up to a nearby grocery store, restaurant, or gas station and coast straight to cashback earnings. Don't forget to use promo code STL11. Upside. Cashback smarter. Offers vary by user and location. Terms and conditions apply. Go to upside.com for details.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They're in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
No pain, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The time is 5:34. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Built in the heartland, for the heartland. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Kaiser Permanente has stopped surgeries for the youth that wanted to try to change their, I guess, transition-related surgeries. The terminology they use in these articles are always they're tiptoeing around it, and they're using this terminology to make it sound like it's no big deal. But this is a really adult thing for a child to be doing to their bodies, and it's a weird thing that we as adults allow children to do this to their bodies. Joining us now is someone you may know as Billboard Chris Elston. Thank you for joining us here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Ryan. We're having a good week.
This is good. So let's talk about this announcement. Kaiser Permanente stops surgeries for trans minors. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so it took a little while, but Trump had an amazing executive order when he first took office, which took away federal funding from any of these institutions that are giving kids puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries. And we've been seeing other hospitals like Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, Connecticut Children's Hospital just yesterday. Today now Yale has come out and said they're not going to do this anymore because they're going to lose money. They're not doing it for the right reasons. They're doing it for money. And so they call this a pause. And quite frankly, it will be a pause until the next Democrat gets elected president. So hopefully that doesn't happen for a long time. So in the meantime, we're going to have to keep educating the population about this to get them more aware, because that's what led to all these wins in the first place. But what's curious about Kaiser's is they're only stopping the surgeries. They're still going to be giving kids puberty blockers. They're still going to be doing the cross-sex hormones. So we'll see how that plays out. But it's not just because of Trump's executive order. There are all sorts of things at play right now, including the Federal Trade Commission looking into all of these clinics and hospitals for deceptive trade practices. Because sometimes for insurance purposes or whatever, they won't even code it as gender dysphoria. They won't code it as gender transition. They'll code it as a child having an endocrine disorder. And so that's why they need these drugs. So they're trying to do anything they can, and we have to stay alert and keep on these guys because ideologically they still want to transition kids.
Yeah, and when you read the press releases, they're very saddened by the decision, right? They don't make it sound like they're doing this for any of the right reasons, but I also hate the language that they use for it when they say gender affirming care, and they say the word care like, oh boy, if you're against this, then you don't care about the youth. But they really gloss over the realization that, hey, this is genital mutilation. We're talking about cosmetic surgeries on children, in some cases irreversible. And this is a very serious topic, but they make it sound like it's care, like you're going to the doctor for a checkup. It's ridiculous the way they try to market this.
Yeah, I never use those terms. I call it what it is. This is sex denying harm. Cutting the body parts off of a child, or off of anyone for that matter, but we're talking about kids. Cutting body parts off of kids is not care. That's not medicine. Stopping the healthy development of a perfectly healthy child is not care. This is some cultish ideology that has gripped hold of the entire Western world. Giving them the opposite sex's hormones is not care. It's causing all sorts of side effects. We know it's causing cancers, heart disease, strokes. Puberty blockers cause bone demineralization. There was a 15-year-old girl in Sweden who developed basically osteoporosis. It was called osteopenia. It's the same sort of thing. She was in chronic pain because of bone loss. And yeah, of course, the left uses euphemisms for everything. And as usual, they're saying that kids who don't get this care, call it life-saving care. They say that kids are going to kill themselves if we don't transition them. And that's been debunked as well, including by the ACLU's own lawyer, who in December at the Supreme Court said that completed suicides, quote unquote, were very rare.
Well, I don't think there is much of a debate, at least from my standpoint, that there is some sort of mental illness side to this. To think that what goes through your mind, there's a certain level of unhealthy thinking that gets you to this point. And I think your job as a parent is to love your child in a way to make sure you're doing what's best for them, not to give in to what's going through their mind to make them have bad decisions, because in their mindset, what they're doing is confirming the illness, and we shouldn't be doing that.
That's right. The actual affirming care is to tell your children that they are beautiful just as they are. No drugs or scalpels needed. That they can be quirky, they can be a bit different, they can defy stereotypes, and that there's no right or wrong way to be a boy or girl. Those are the actual progressive messages. And the world all understood this until about 10 minutes ago. But you're absolutely right about the mental illness component, and that is not to say all these kids are mentally ill. It's not to be used as a slight. It's just a fact. And if you look at the data from the Tavistock, or the Gender Identity Development Service in England, where they've now shut down that clinic, we know that 70% of the kids, and this is out of thousands, 70% had 5 or more coexisting mental health comorbidities. Autism is extremely prevalent. According to their own data in England, 35% of the kids had moderate to severe autism. It's definitely much higher than that when you include the more mild cases. These kids have borderline personality disorder. In more than half the cases, one of their parents is missing or deceased or just out of the picture. Oftentimes the mothers, according to one earlier study, 52% of the mothers of these boys struggling with gender dysphoria had themselves borderline personality disorder. Kids in state care are way overrepresented, like British Columbia, where I'm from, where one psychologist is transitioning 500 kids in foster care out of a total of 6,000. So it's just all these struggling kids. And yes, we need to help them, but you don't help children. You don't help problems of the mind by changing their bodies and stopping puberty. It's totally insane.
With you being in British Columbia, do you feel there's going to be some sort of government interference with your message? They don't like it there.
Well, my government certainly doesn't currently, but I say whatever I want, wherever I want. I've been doing this 5 years all across Canada. In the early going, I was arrested twice after getting assaulted, similar to just what happened in Brussels, Belgium, to me a few weeks ago. But no charges and something like 350 police interactions. I know what I'm doing, and we are allowed to have conversations. We do have freedom of expression guaranteed in our Constitution. It does come with a few more caveats than your First Amendment, which is superior. But no one's employing me, so no one can fire me, and I'm just going to keep giving my message. Good luck trying to prosecute me.
All right. Well, your message is out there, billboardchris.com. Is that where you want people to go to learn more?
Yeah, that'd be great. And actually, I just started a nonprofit. I haven't officially launched it yet, but they can go to WeSpeakTruth.com, and we'll be adding some more resources to that in the next couple of days. But for Americans especially, that's probably the place to go, WeSpeakTruth.com.
I can guess who assaulted you at some of these different events. I probably don't have to stretch my imagination that far, but you're still going, and you got the sandwich board, you got the message, and I'm sure it starts some good conversations. Hopefully the people are receptive to hear it, at least some of them.
Oh, yeah. I get support from more than 90% of the population. I don't worry about the haters. My message is the one of positivity. Like I said, children are beautiful just as they are. No drugs or scalpels needed. And everyone instinctively understands that. People don't believe the harm that is being done to these kids. The Democrats, the leftists, they tell you for the longest time, they're not doing surgeries on kids. Well, then why are all these hospitals suddenly coming out with statements saying that they're going to stop doing surgeries on kids?
Yeah.
They just lie.
It's such a lie.
And because it's so unbelievable, people don't believe it. And I understand that. But we've got so much evidence now. I'm making friends all over the world. So we're winning, and we're just going to keep winning.
Yep. BillboardChris.com. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And I find that during this past election, this topic would come up, and Donald Trump was one that actually took a pretty strong stance on this. We shouldn't be doing this to kids. We shouldn't be mutilating them this way, especially minors. And they would ask, okay, well, Kamala Harris, what's your standpoint on this? Well, this is only something the right imagines happens. This is in their imagination. They would say these sort of deflection answers. And ultimately, they were on the side of these people that were mutilating these children and calling it gender-affirming care. So I do applaud people like Billboard Chris. I think he's doing good work, and I'm glad we had a moment to talk to him here. All right, I'm Ryan Recker filling in for Mark Reardon. We'll do the audio cut of the day coming up as we get ready to wrap up the show. If you want to find me online, at Ryan Recker on Twitter, Ryan Recker Radio on Facebook. You're listening to 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Your heaviest spot's going to be 55 on your southbound side. You are slow going from 64 down to 55. Most of that's between 44 and 55 because you only have a left lane getting through. It's a bad crash in that area, taking out the 3 right lanes. On the westbound side of 64, you're slow going Kings Highway over to Big Bend and through Chesterfield. Eastbound side past 340 and then Lindbergh over to Big Bend. Southbound 170 delays that take you from Del Mar down to 64 and 70. Some slight delays eastbound from 170 over to 367. Most of that west stuff is on the west end of it around the Wentzville area. You'll find some delays. This report is sponsored by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, Lakeside Renovation and Design has been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. From windows and siding to kitchens, bathrooms, and outdoor spaces, they deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. From Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Can you remember the last time we had a president in the Oval Office who worked so hard every day to bring wins to the American people?
Weekdays from 5 to 9. St. Louis Conservative.
Hey guys, I want to talk about Game Day Men's Health, which is an outstanding operation here in St. Louis. I've gotten to know Matt Lawrence from the Chesterfield location, and I just like to be honest as much as I can. You know that there are other locations where you can get a testosterone PSA test. You can address things like decreased libido and brain fog and poor sleep, but you're going to get a higher quality, better experience at Game Day Men's Health. And I promise you that. They have a lot of passion. The office is extremely professional. And they're offering a free testosterone and PSA test. All you have to do is call, make the reservation. It's a 1-hour visit, quick and easy. You'll have the results in 20 minutes, and then they'll have a plan for you. And everyone's plan is going to be different depending on what you're interested in. If you have not checked out Game Day Men's Health, this is a great opportunity. And do me a huge favor. Tell them that I told you to call. The office I went to is in Chesterfield, right near 6440 and Olive and Clarkson. But they do have a location in Glen Carmen, Illinois, also O'Fallon, Missouri. Again, free testosterone and PSA test. It's time to get back into the game at Game Day Men's Health. The website, GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, August 5th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Here are Bob and Tammy with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired? Do you have your personalized income plan in place? Would you like to learn why linking to the market is much safer than owning the market, and how in 39 years we have never lost a penny of our clients' money?
Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your market gains every year without having to sell? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, at the Frontenac Hilton, Tuesday, August 5th at 6:30. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
You ask a lot of your liver, so give it the support it needs with Active Liver. Active Liver provides an easy daily detox. Go to nordicUSA.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. New you, new Nordic.
Reardon's back. Smarter talk for the Show Me State. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
And welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker filling in for Mark Reardon. And boy, did we learn a lot today. It's a shame Hulk Hogan passes away at the age of 71. When I go home, it's the first thing I'm going to do when I talk to my wife, honey, got some bad news for you. I don't know if she's seen it or not. She really doesn't pay attention to any of this stuff. She doesn't follow trends on social media. This may be breaking news to her when I go home, and she'll wonder why I'm so distraught. Honey, hold me. But there's been what a week of entertainment news and celebrity deaths. It's been a wild one. How about we go right to the audio cut of the day?
Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
I'm a fan of Tom Homan and how frank he is and straightforward with his assertments of this is what's happening, not we're going to do this, but this is what happened. I really like it. Let's play clip number 26.
You throw a stone at an ICE officer, you're going to jail. You put hands on an ICE officer, you're going to jail. You impede an ICE officer from doing his job, you're going to jail. Here's what American people need to know. ICE is enforcing the laws that Congress enacted. If you don't like it, then change the law. But ICE agents every day are taking public safety threats off the street, national security threats off the street. Every day, ICE is making this country safer.
He's right. He's 100% right. And they caught that rock thrower in Mexico. He was throwing what were like cylinder blocks or something. They were showing him. The guy sitting on the side of the road, he's just picking these things up and throwing them as if they were laid out for him to do that. Like it was prepared and he was just waiting for the moment. Very dangerous. And you can't really call them rocks. I mean, we're destroying these windshields as they were driving by. And you wonder, why do people feel like their life's in danger if there's a mob of people on the freeway? Because stuff like this happens. It's this frank reality of the situation. All these people that hop on the freeway in protest, and then a car ends up hitting one of them because they feel like they're going to get killed by that mob if they don't leave immediately. It's a simple type of self-defense. But there you have ICE agents as traveling. You got people throwing cylinder blocks through their windows. It amazes me the pure restraint that these agents are able to show. Another clip I wanted to play real quick. I think this is clip 5. The FCC, Brendan Carr was asked about Colbert and the implications with that. We play clip 5.
When President Trump ran for election, he ran right at these legacy broadcast media outfits and the New York and Hollywood elites that are behind it. And he smashed the facade that these are gatekeepers that can control what Americans think and what Americans can say. And once you do that, you've exposed the business model of a lot of these outfits as being nothing more than a partisan circus. And so I think there's a lot of consequences that are flowing from President Trump deciding, I'm not going to play by the rules of politicians in the past and let these legacy outfits dictate the narratives in the terms of the debate. And he's succeeding. Just look at what's happening. NPR has been defunded. PBS has been defunded. Colbert is getting cancer. You've got anchors and news media personalities losing their jobs. Again, all of this is downstream of President Trump's decision to stand up. And he stood up to the American people because the American people do not trust these legacy gatekeepers anymore. And all of this, I think, is consequences of that broader dynamic.
I like that we got a chance to talk about this with Rob Schneider yesterday on the show. How cool was it that we had actor comedian Rob Schneider on the show, and I got to ask him my Saturday Night Live question. I felt bad at the end. I know we were pushing a little bit late on his time that we asked him for, and he called in right on time. Celebrities don't always do that, but he called in. He was right here when we needed him, and he let me go a little bit long, which I hope I didn't hold up another interview. But I had a Norm Macdonald question I've always wanted an answer to, and he confirmed it, so now I always know that's true. But one of the points I made to him yesterday was, you're Stephen Colbert, you're losing $40 million a year. You criticized your bosses and the people that pay you, and they said, well, maybe, just maybe, it might be a bad idea to go after the people that are willing to lose $40 million. They'll go to bat for you, and then you want to give them a hard time and realize you're not on their team anymore. Sorry, we're done losing money. It was so bad. They're going to fire the staff. What is it, 200 people or so? They're going to be out of a job now because Stephen Colbert thought it was a good idea to take this route. And that could be fine. I mean, that could be all those things. But I think the main motivation here is they were losing money and they were not the biggest show on television. I guess it's one thing to say there's a little bit of a premium in order to have all these different extra eyes if you're taking it away from other networks. But you have Greg Gutfeld that has more people watching him with a fraction of the staff. He has like a dozen people, non-union workers on his show. And I think he gets about 3 million viewers a night. Stephen Colbert gets about 1.8 million viewers total. And he's got 200 people and they're losing 40 million a year. So do the math. It doesn't justify continuing on even further. So before we go, I wanted to bring Ethan on real quick because earlier in the show, I brought up that LeBron James is suing AI companies. These AI companies are not, they are, let me just say, no ethics in AI video and audio generation whatsoever. It doesn't exist. Ethan, you found the video of LeBron James and what got him all upset to sue these companies, didn't you?
I mean, it wasn't hard to find. It was like the first thing that popped up on Twitter when I opened it. But yes, I did see it.
All right. Do you have the video on your cell phone right now? I want you to watch this 15-second video and give us commentary of what's happening so people can understand why LeBron James is suing artificial intelligence. Okay? Let's give it a try.
I can't believe you're making me do this. Okay, so
Please.
The first thing that you see is LeBron James looking at a very pregnant belly. It's not shirt over the belly. Belly is out. He is caressing his tummy, looking at it very carefully. And then the next shot is him being pushed into an ambulance, taken to the hospital. Once again, very pregnant. He's wearing his Lakers uniform, by the way. Stephen Curry is help pushing him into the ambulance. The next shot is Stephen Curry pushing him on a stretcher in the hospital to his bedroom. Once again, belly still out. The next shot is him holding his new baby. Steph Curry is there as the midwife nurse. The baby has a full-on beard. And LeBron is holding it. The next shot, Stephen Curry is holding the bearded baby. And then that's basically the gist of it.
Ethan, you did a great job today. Thank you for that. Hopefully you don't go home and are going to resent, but I think a lot of people are going to be looking up pregnant LeBron James later. Thank you for the show today. It was great working with you. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in on 97.1 FM Talk.
You kill me.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Still pretty heavy on 55 southbound, past 44 down to almost 55. We've got a crash clearing out of the right lanes, 3 right lanes, leaves a left lane open for you. You've got 2 left lanes, it looks like, open now. And the eastbound side of 64, some delays that go from Lindbergh over to Big Bend, and westbound side from just past Kings Highway over to Big Bend, and southbound 170, tight from about Forest Park Parkway down to 64. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Surprise! Surprise! You know, surprise parties, they can be fun, right? Well, financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you think you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be